remember to like, comment, and subscribe.
Smash that like button.
No, you say that at the end of the recording, UA.
Well, I'm leaving, so it is the
Fair enough.
Smash that like button. Smash that like button.
Smash
Hit
the
the subscribe.
share.
Hit the subscribe button.
Can we
Do
get
it!
1
Do it, you
billion
whore!
likes?
The irony is Saibot's highest watched video is the video in which I said that.
It's true. It
Killing
so totally
Alpha.
had an effect, even attracting viewers in the first place.
So time for this one to be the second most viewed.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Anyway, since it has been a while, I might as well summarize what brought us here in the first place. So the location is, to get that out of the way, is generic American metropolis for the purposes of this little story. I didn't feel like drawing from a specific real-world location, but I think Chicago is probably the best equivalent. So as far as your rough, your
I
imagination
take offense
goes.
from the way you said Chicago.
Why is that?
Nobody cares. Nobody cares. Fuck
Chicago.
off.
Okay.
Go ahead.
No, yeah, you, the player characters, as they will introduce each other or themselves in a moment here, are, at least temporarily, and probably not the first time, serving as the city's hounds, that being essentially deputy sheriffs, essentially, for, well, whatever the sheriff and the prince need them to do, really. And things are getting kinda foobar. In recent weeks, there have been, well, most noticeably, a large number of cases of police brutality making the headlines. Generally not unlike what we, saw last summer as well. Well, it would be not actually last summer anymore. It's a while ago now. But anyway, although the target demographics at least weren't quite so limited as in those cases. There have been riots, of course, demonstrations, and things going a little bit out of control in general. Places being set fire to within the context of vampire society. In fact, even the havens of some older vampires have been burned, which the current hierarchy, current establishment considers essentially terroristic acts by well, a group of vampires that has been driven to the fringes of society a few decades ago, before your time as the player characters. And this is essentially a bid for power. That is the common theory, that all of this is just everything even happening in mortal society is really just machinations to cover up this play for power, essentially. Well, yes, and the establishment, which in this case most specifically refers to the Invictus, the Circle of the Crone, and the Ordo Dracul, and only Lankaea at Sanctum only to a much lesser degree, are getting somewhat unruly, and, well, want the prince to act. Very recently, the bishop of the Lankaea at Sanctum, essentially the vampire church to keep it concise, had, unfortunately, had one of their prized ghouls killed. Ghouls being essentially half-damned mortals that have drunk vampire blood and got some measure of vampiric power and prolonged life and so on, in return for almost unflinching obedience. I think a little bit, if you imagine the old classic Dracula tale, you could imagine that, fuck, I forgot his name. Well, the one they put into the asylum because he was going crazy. That might have been a ghoul. Renfield, there we go.
I was gonna say, honestly, with this crowd, you probably could have used a Hellsing reference and people would have got it.
Well, I mean, in Hellsing, ghouls are essentially zombies. While here, ghouls are still, thinking, feeling human beings, aside from the side benefits they get. But yeah, Renfield from Dracula is a good comparison. Yes, killed and requested the help of the city in clearing up the murder. Well, and mainly to show action, probably, less so to actually see results, the prince has, in fact, tasked you to investigate the matter. And whether it has anything to do with the recent assaults, the arson, and so on and so on. So yeah. Prince Colby may or may not actually expect results, but at the very least, you need to make it seem like you're working very hard on it. Plausible deniability and all that. Which quickly brings us to our first scene. Currently in an apartment building, together with Sheriff Cole, who's essentially your direct superior. Cole likes to cultivate this reputation of being essentially just the brute enforcer of the prince, although by interacting with him, you have noted that he's actually quite sharp-witted, although he doesn't allow everyone to notice that. Cole is currently just in a simple black sleeveless shirt and jeans, having currently summarized the situation and your task for you, as he directly came from the prince. And it is now your opportunity to ask any questions, raise any objections that you feel are necessary, if anything. But before we get to that, you might as well quickly introduce your characters, visuals, and roughly what the other members of the group should know about you. But keep in mind, you only tend to work together as hounds, so you might not know each other very intimately. Might as well start with UA.
Now let's start with CAD.
So,
I agree with this.
I didn't even notice he joined. I didn't hear the Discord sound. Well, Kat, you're just gonna have to pick it up as you go, but you will be last. I hope you can wing it well. But no, UA and that being said, Quentin,
Okay.
can go ahead.
So my character's name is Quentin. He is tall, skinny, and dresses well, but he tries to stand in the back in corners, puts his hands in his pockets, and all that sort of tries to stay out of sight stuff.
Yeah. You might want to explain the effect of his particular Nosferatu curse.
I'm sorry, what was that?
The effects of his particular Nosferatu curse. What they would feel in his presence.
They wouldn't want to...
Wasn't it that he just seems like super dirty and unclean all the time?
Well, no, that's how he feels,
Okay,
not
fair
others feel. They just wouldn't want to, maintain eye contact or even look in his direction very long,
Okay.
I think.
Alright. Robot next.
Okay. So my character's name is Richard. From what you know about him, he was a detective, and it shows. He's usually wearing a dark brown coat. He's pretty large in stature, with black hair. It's always greasy and unkempt. His skin is an unhealthy pastiness to it, with an eldritch discoloration. When he talks, he sounds like he's got something in his throat, like it's discomforting sounds. I don't. Oh wait, eyes. He's got like an oddly discolored eyes. They're like dark green though. What was the? I don't remember what the presence thing was. I don't see it on my sheet.
What do you mean? Sorry.
Oh, he's a Nosferatu as well.
I mean, you already described it. I mean, that sounds plenty unwholesome to me.
Okay. I just wasn't sure if it was like a separate section or if it was just part of the description.
No, that's perfectly fine.
Okay.
Like the way you presented it, kind of made it sound like a nimbus. But
I mean,
like, how do
in the
people
case of
feel
some,
when they're around you?
in the case of some Nosferatu, that's actually fairly accurate. So, checks out. Steph next.
My character's name is Helen. She's like average height, kind of girly, very like bubbly and friendly. She was the daughter of like one of the magnates living in the city. She got kidnapped and her kidnapper killed her. So I think it was like a high profile kidnapping or something. Yeah.
Pretty much, yeah. Okay. As an aside, probably, in character you would probably know each other's clans. Richard and Quentin being Nosferatus, as probably became obvious. Helen is a Mechat.
She's a maggot?
A Mechat.
Yeah.
Mechat, okay.
Or a Mechet, if you want to go ancient Egyptian on us.
I will not.
It'd be hard enough to make the sound constantly with two people having gravelly voices right now.
Shut the fuck up. I can't help it.
Okay. Yeah, Bio, since you spoke up, you're gonna be next.
Oh, shit.
So did Christian.
He was the last one to be green, that's why I jumped at him.
Okay.
My character's name is Peter. He's a gangrel. He's older man, is 60s, has thinning hair, pretty white up there, has a beak of a nose, pretty pale skinned. He's a corner.
All right. Yeah, Christian can go next.
My character's name is Scott. He's like of a moderate size. Think maybe around the 6-footish range, like the average size you'd expect of your average male, at least in America.
Right.
His weight is that I wouldn't call him stocky by any means, but he is like large. I guess it's hard for me to put it in words. He looks like he's about in his mid-30s. His eyes are brown. His hair is short and black. He prefers to dress in simple and sturdy clothes, as those are his preferred style. He has smooth features for his body, except for very pronounced cheekbones. Obviously, he is male, because I've been saying he this entire time.
We didn't want to assume.
I mean, it's Chronicles of Darkness, so you can never be sure.
Yeah.
He is of African origins, which should, well, it's kind of like being
We
African
didn't
American.
want to be assumed.
Yeah,
I mean, that couldn't be assumed, to be fair.
which is to say he is African American by most standards in like the NA.
Right.
Can't think of anything else that you really particularly know, except for maybe that his current job is that he actually works as a locksmith.
Okay. And Cat is gone again, isn't he? Fuck.
Yes, he is.
Okay,
Ah,
hey,
he's
you're
back.
back. Perfect timing. Now, Cat, it is your turn.
Of two.
Describe your character.
Right. I don't remember what my character is.
Okay, we're just gonna.
Well, that's why you got your sheet open, right?
Yeah, hold on.
Right?
Someone
That
didn't
would
go
be a
to
no.
bed at an early time yesterday.
I mean, technically I didn't too, but
Well.
Choo-choo.
Yeah. just take a moment to figure out where your sheet is, and then we can do it later.
No, I'm looking at it, yes. I have it open.
Okay. Then go ahead. Guess not. Okay, then we just move on until he has figured it out. But yes, if there were any questions, objections, perhaps, to the situation as presented. As I said, Kat, you're just gonna have to pick it up as you go along right now.
Did I miss something earlier, though?
Yeah, the intro
You
and
missed
everything.
an hour of play.
Okay.
Yeah. But what about everyone else who is assembled?
Quentin
I
stands in the corner and nods.
Dab on him.
Is there like a table or anything inside this room that my character could be quietly sitting at?
There would be like an office table and so on, but Cole himself isn't sitting.
Okay, yeah, so I wouldn't sit. No,
Yeah.
That wouldn't make sense. Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. He does look, with his style, he does certainly look out of place in the building, but it doesn't seem to be his haven in the first place, so who knows. Steph was about to say something, but I didn't quite catch it.
Huh?
I thought she said like dab on him or something.
Yeah, dab on him. That's...
My fucking god, no.
What's
I
dab?
don't know.
Kids these days.
What does that mean?
I don't understand this sort
I
of
don't
language.
know what it means either. So
I legitimately don't understand.
Okay.
Just-
Go
I
look
didn't
it up.
realize we
It's,
were
not,
starting
it's
the
stupid.
game.
It's a pose.
I'll be serious now.
The thing is, I literally don't know what it means, so that's
I
fine.
don't know what it means either.
Okay, alright, then, I guess...
Suppose.
Okay, alright, whatever. Okay, there doesn't seem to be any particular questions or confusions.
Well, I'm really confused now, but not because of what he said.
That's what he said.
No.
Well, no, I know what that is, but how do you do it on someone? Never mind. Just forget this.
Oh, it's entirely derailed.
You just broke a robot.
Yeah, he's totally malfunctioning. Damn. That's impressive, actually. Damn.
It's more like I don't care, and I just want to do vampire because we're an hour in.
Yeah,
Here,
it's
let's
true.
I don't care about these memes.
All right, I'm sorry. Well, I guess you're released then. As soon as you have any news, anything I should know or pass on to the prince, just call me. He makes a phone sign with his hand. Or if you have any other questions that come up. Just don't make too much trouble and be careful out there, you know. The streets are rough nowadays.
You got it.
All right.
I'm always careful.
Let's go.
Good. Okay. Well, on the way down and out, yeah, one thing that you should be aware of, but he would have, of course, told you, would be the best way to contact the bishop is through the old downtown church, where she usually holds midnight mass, when, you know, Sundays, of course. Her haven is, of course, well, is not public knowledge, or at least the prince isn't willing to share it if he knows it, or the sheriff for that matter. So that's probably the best way to find her. Unless you have some other ideas that come to mind. So that's up to you. Yeah, but on the way down, you have ample time to discuss the matter and the plan. So if you have anything you would like to get out there, now's the time.
How do we want to tackle this?
Well, the most obvious lead is usually the one that leads to more.
I can agree with that sentiment.
I would think that examining the body might be a good start.
Never a bad idea.
Alright.
Right?
So it sounds like we're heading to where the dead body is.
Well, actually, that would be the morgue right now. Yes, actually. So that's probably the first stop then. Kat, have you figured out your character sheet now?
Maybe. Enough, yes.
Okay, then you can go ahead and describe your character now.
Okay. He is a mostly Chinese, part Asian, part white psychologist. Do I do like the
I hate him already.
Yeah,
the
you should.
aspirations?
He is a pretty hateable person.
He's a Ventru, I think.
Now I hate him already.
I also hate him already.
That's
And
good.
uses the
Perfect climate.
what is it called? The whatever the power is that Ventruis have to help with the manipulation and psychology that he
Dominate.
does.
That's what you mean.
Yeah, that thing.
Might also be worth noting that he's a member of the Circle of the Crone, and he has some understanding of Kruyok. So he's essentially a minor blood sorcerer, blood witch.
So much hate.
Yeah.
That's okay, Jinjing.
Did I miss something though?
Nothing particularly
I
noteworthy,
feel like
think.
there's an inside joke that I just happened to miss.
Some of this goes from knowing who the people you're playing with are and what their clan and affiliation is. And then the other part comes from knowing some of the Vampire the Masquerade lore.
Oh, okay.
But we are not playing Vampire the Masquerade.
Yeah, shut the fuck up. We're playing the Requiem.
I will not.
Ventru are perhaps the least changed clan between the two, though, so it sticks for the most part. Yeah. So most reasons why you might hate a Ventru on sight are still true in Requiem. Most. Anyway.
He's a good person, though, I assure you.
Yes, clearly.
At least you're not a
Nice.
Malkavian.
Maybe he will be someday. Anyway.
No.
As you get out onto the streets, well, you can... traffic is buzzing and, well, as you would expect in this kind of large city. But on almost every street corner, slight exaggeration, you see people demonstrating and shouting the recent acts of violence. Or, in some cases, calling on for more acts of violence in retribution. Now, everyone needs to check their character sheet real quick. And everyone who has less than 5 vitae, please speak up. Vitae would be found under your willpower, or above, I'm not entirely sure. Somewhere about there.
Below.
I have less
Might
than
be a
5
dumb
today.
question, but the black filled-in boxes are what we have, right?
Correct.
All right.
The ones with the white border, is that empty?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, I have less than 5.
Okay.
I also have less than 5.
Wait, is it? Because I can't make them full black. Okay, no, it's white border me is the PDF being stupid.
Yeah.
Oh, is
it?
Yeah.
If it's like
If they're
empty,
black,
if it's
you
like full on white, it's empty. That being said,
Okay, I
with your
have-
blood potency, your max would be 10 anyway.
Okay, never mind, I have 5 then.
Okay. So that was Peter, Helen, and Scott? Is that right?
Yes, I was included amongst that list.
Yeah. Okay. So most of you are reasonably well fed, or at least not feeling pangs of hunger, except for, the ones I just called out. For you, the sensation of hunger is a bit more urgent and real, and you notice that in details like the heartbeats of passers-by drumming in your ear, feeling strangely hot, almost in an like you need to be extinguished almost. And just everywhere, like you almost can't help your gaze gliding towards the veins and whatnot of mortal passers-by. So you do notice that hunger is becoming an issue for you.
That sweet blood, it sings to me.
It's so intoxicating.
Is there a max vitae?
It is actually the same as for mana for mages, so at blood potency 1 it is 10.
Okay.
And vitae per turn at blood potency 1 is also 1 per turn.
Jesus Christ, I have not been drinking blood at all.
Sorry, what was that, Steph? You were a little bit quiet.
Sorry. If you have less than 5, you're hungry?
Yes.
Okay.
That is what I just described to you.
You are a hungry hippo.
I got 6, so I'm not.
Okay, then there was a misunderstanding. Who's hungry then? I mean, okay, I get I mentioned the description. If you have 4 or less, then you're hungry, and the description I just gave applies to you.
That applies to me.
Yeah.
As I stated.
Yeah.
Not to me, I just had a question about it.
Okay. Yeah. Up to you on how you are acting on it. Whether you make some arrangements with the rest of the group, or if you're just pressing on for now.
My character will keep silent for now.
I'll also keep silent for now.
Okay. How do you intend to get to the morgue? You are 6 people. So...
I was like, do we not have a coroner in our group?
I'm right here.
Yeah. No, I mean, like physically move there is what I'm asking. How?
Can we turn into bats and fly there?
Nobody here has Protean 3 yet, so no.
Shit.
I'm close.
I am also close.
Well, not all of us can fit in my car, but like most of them.
Yeah.
Stuff me in the trunk.
We'll make it work.
Why don't you?
Yeah, the 2 Nosferatu can sit in the trunk.
Away from the light from you. Nobody wants to see you.
Well, I have no real desire to go to the morgue. I think if it's alright with you, I'll just go and do my own investigation. And we can just meet up at the midnight thing.
Scott raised an eyebrow. What exactly does your own investigation entail?
I sit quietly and I listen for things that people don't realize they're saying.
I think we should stick together.
If you feel that that's an efficient use of your time, I won't stop you.
I mean, there's like, what, 6 of us? Do we all need to go to a morgue and raise that sort of suspicion?
Fair enough, Point. I have nothing better else to do, though.
I mean, what kind of suspicion are you expecting? I would be a detective and we have a coroner.
I am not... Right, but I am neither of those things. Why am I there? I'm clearly not any sort of specialist. I would just be standing there,
He does make a fair point.
It's true.
Well, do whatever you want. If you think it'll help.
Do you have a means of getting back in contact with us in case you find out anything readily?
Luckily, it is the current year, and I have a cell phone.
The hell's a cell phone?
Quentin just kind of looks at him, and then he walks away.
Alright, we'll meet up with him later. Let's go.
No, I'm serious. What the hell's a cell phone?
Don't worry about it.
We really
These kids
want
are
to-
I
also
show him
crazy
my
back
cell
in.
phone. You call people with it.
Isn't that what the home phone is for?
Yeah,
Yes,
then
but
you
they
can do
also
it.
added the computer to it.
Are we really talking about phones?
Well, I didn't know what a cell phone was. I thought maybe I know what a cell is. Like a prison cell. So it just seemed weird.
Richard will make sure that I think Quentin was it has his number because he just walked away. I don't know if he has his number.
I would assume that unless
Aren't we?
stated
I thought we
otherwise.
were already part of a group. Like, didn't we already?
Okay.
Yeah. Okay, you're not a settled-in group that knows each other intimately, but it's not the first time that you have to work together. At least in some sort of constellation. Maybe not in exactly this constellation, but you know each other enough to at least have each other's numbers, unless otherwise noted from you guys.
Clearly, I don't have Christians.
Okay.
You have my character's home. You have my character's home phone number.
Okay, I have the number to his safe haven. There we go. Scott.
To be fair, I was looking at my character's resources, and his intelligence is like, he seems like the kind of guy who wouldn't have a cell phone.
You do have equipment down at the bottom.
Yes, and wasn't included in my equipment, so
Okay,
therefore
good.
I know I don't have it.
Good.
Shall we?
What?
Let's away.
Uh,
Whose car?
Scott can give himself a beat.
It's my car.
Thank you.
Do we need a dominated text?
Scott,
I
not
give
Quentin.
I can give myself a what?
A
I
beat.
can drive it.
Mark a beat on your character sheet.
No problem.
Yeah, there should be a bottom center. I believe.
Bottom right of the first page.
Oh, bottom right.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Bottom center is mage.
Yeah, getting my character sheet mixed up. How could
It's
I?
fine.
Yeah.
Helping. One's blue and one's red. It's okay.
Yeah. I mean, that's confusing already because I'm colorblind. You didn't know, right? Yeah, well, now you know. No, I'm actually not.
Oh, you're Sarah now? Okay.
Don't make fun of Sarah.
I have to. It's in my blood.
He's not even here to defend himself.
Exactly.
I will apologize to him later.
Okay.
Just out of nowhere.
Yeah.
I'm
Okay.
sorry.
Glad.
Well, for some of you, it might be a novel experience to drive in a somewhat, well, luxurious might be too much, but it is a fancy sports car.
The entire time I'm driving them, I'm like telling them about the car and like the interior design and just going into like excruciating detail.
I'm just examining my notebook of research notes, pretending to listen.
Yeah.
I'm sitting there quietly, hands in lap, smiling.
Mm-hmm. That's nice.
and Quentin is like, I feel I dodged a bullet there.
I know exactly what I was getting out of.
Although, perhaps the unluckiest one right now are the ones that have to sit next to Richard.
Yeah, he's in the back.
He's in the trunk. We established this.
No, I mean, yeah, you'd be really unlucky if you're sitting in the trunk, but no.
That room is the furthest back you can be.
With the gangrel.
What?
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 More than one.
What?
He's what?
No, I'm Nosferatu.
Yeah. Oh, right. Right.
That's what I'm
I'm
saying.
actually Gangrel.
right.
Don't worry,
Also
it's
Gangrel.
easy to get confused there.
I'm a Gangrel, by which I mean Scott is.
Yeah.
And I believe that Bio is also a Gangrel.
That is
Yes.
correct.
I'm a Malkavian. Fuck it.
No, you're not.
No, you're not.
No, the funny thing is, though, Malkavia in Requiem is actually a transmittable supernatural disease, so everyone could catch it.
Good.
Oh, God, no.
Good. I am glad that this happened.
You get dementia.
Yeah. Anyway,
I'll make sure to inject myself with a vaccine at some point.
It's called fishmalt cancer.
okay. Anyway, most of you would probably have, not survived because you're already dead, but not final died to Helen's boring platitude.
But two of you may be in torpor.
I was born so.
God fucking damn it.
Damn. Okay.
I'm sorry, Saibot.
No, that's all right. At least we're having fun. Anyway, no. But for robot's sake and for everyone's sake, we should move on. Yeah, I don't think there's going to be too much trouble getting to the morgue. Actually, there is one thing. Yes. Helen and everyone who's going to play a backseat driver, please roll me wits plus streetwise. If someone is actually going to try to backseat drive on her, speak up now before she rolls.
Wits plus streetwise?
Yes.
I'll do it. I'll help or whatever. I've got a lot of
Help.
that.
Air quotes
Okay,
over
so-
help.
I would hit 10 again, and then however many black dots I had in those skills, correct?
Correct, but don't
Yeah.
roll yet, because Richard is going to call in occasionally. Okay. That being said, I would have given you a -2 because backseat driving is something horrible. But that brings,
That's still one
elements-
success.
Yep, exactly. So Helen gets a +1 to hers. The difficulty right now is, for one thing, weaving through the traffic as on the fastest route possible, as well as avoid any minor, riots, problematics, or barricades, from the police and so on. And that's what the roll is for. But yeah. If you fail, it just takes you noticeably longer to get there, which, as time is limited for a vampire very specifically, might make a difference in the end.
Okay, so can I roll?
Yeah.
Time is limited. Why?
At some point, the sun is going to go up.
The fucking Daystar.
+1 means one more die. So you just straight up add and subtract a number of dice you roll when you get bonuses.
Oh, okay.
So
should I just do it again?
just
then,
roll
or-
another one, yeah.
Roll one more dice.
Okay. Wouldn't have been a success, but yeah. So yeah, there are, except for initiative, there are no straight modifiers to a roll. It's always just you get more or less dice to roll.
All right.
Easy mistake to make though. Yes. With or without Richard help, she manages to, with her knowledge of the street, figure out a reasonably quick way to the morgue, avoiding the worst trouble on the streets or any complications. As, make your way to the hospital where the morgue is, of course. Parking-wise, the situation is catastrophic right now, which raises the question of where and how you are trying to park.
I'm gonna try to park a block away from the building we're getting to.
Yeah, fair enough.
Preferably in a parking garage, if there is one nearby.
I think something can be found, yeah, that's fine. It's pretty much the center of the city, like there's a metropolitan hospital, I guess you could say.
Yeah.
So that shouldn't be a problem. Luckily, the situation is a bit calmer here, as can be usually expected or assumed. The worst happens in the suburbs, especially. and generally the fringes of the city. Not so much here, luckily, for the most part. Yes.
Right.
I take it with Peter's help, you're trying to get inside the morgue right now. He is retired, so he might have to do some winging to get him plus 4 other people in there.
If that doesn't work, could I try contacting someone to see if they can, like, give us authority to get in there?
Always a possibility. I mean,
Well,
you
to be
can throw
fair,
it
I
in
think
immediately if you want to.
I was gonna say, to be fair, we have a detective, a coroner here, and then I'm a locksmith, so we could back up fabricators. I should say this in character.
Yeah, it's best.
Alright, so here's my relative plan here. We have a detective here, we have a coroner here, I'm a locksmith, so I can come up with a logical justification for why I'm here. They need me to unlock a building, and we need to get some information from the court before we head out to the site to go and, open it up and investigate some details. So, I got us, I think that would cover us 3. So,
I can
we just
pose
need...
as, like, a politician or something.
Though I am retired, I could easily be some sort of reference for a ongoing investigation. Otherwise, it's not that unlikely to hear that a coroner could be called in for some expert input into a ongoing investigation.
Yeah. Actually,
Makes reasonable sense.
I think if you guys can get in, I'm going to try to sneak in behind you.
How confident are you in your ability to sneak inside?
Relatively confident.
Turn to our good coroner friend. Have you ever been to this facility before? How locked up is it normally?
Well, as secure as you would expect which isn't, like, particularly. Like, you have, of course, hospital security. Since it's a morgue and there's investigations going on. A couple cops, of course, especially detectives, of course, that might be visiting, investigating, talking to coroners and so on. Excuse me. But for the most part, some security cameras, hospital security, really. What you would expect, really.
Standard level.
All right. So it all comes down to: do you feel comfortable sneaking past that level of security?
Oh, here's an interesting thing though about vampiric nature. This is for everyone currently, because I mentioned security cameras. So it isn't quite like in the myths that you don't have a reflection or anything like that. Well, not by default, although some particularly bloodlines may have that. But essentially, something in the vampiric nature rejects being caught in any sort of, whether it's camera, film, mirrors, and so on. What this usually means to effects like, okay, someone is taking a picture and you would be in the background. Well, you just instinctively look into the other direction, right at the right or wrong moment, depending on how you look at it. Or if you're on video camera, well, the files just have a bad tendency to go corrupt before they can be reviewed or something like that. You can suppress this effect, which is otherwise always on with a willpower point. But otherwise, that being said, of course, if a night's surveillance records all go corrupt, then that is also already questionable. And
Suspicious.
you can't... Yeah, suspicious. And, of course, you can't rely on it actually happening like that. But in general, you don't have to worry much about it.
All right.
Maybe I should wait by the car.
I'm comfortable staying outside if you two need me to, seeing as it seems reasonable for our coroner and a detective to go inside, whereas
Yes.
it could be a bit of a stretch for me to be tagging alongside you. It's all
right.
it's all worth measuring out what you believe is worth the risk.
Well, we can just take some pictures of the body and bring them back here if you want.
Yeah.
I find this acceptable. If you smell anything weird on it, let me know.
All right.
All right.
All right, Ian. Okay. Which leaves only Richard and Peter for the actual morgue. Is that correct?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. No need to hold ourselves up there too much. Yeah. Bio, how exactly would you try to tackle the act of trying to convince people to let you into the morgue? Because, you know, I was called in or whatever. What's the approach that you finally take?
Pretty much as I sat out in the garage, I'm being called in out of retirement briefly to help with an investigation that's going on here.
Okay. Okay. Then, and probably Richard is just gonna, you know, hang around to that.
Yeah, I could like vouch for him, like I trust his expert opinion or something like that.
Okay. So one thing that comes into play here is your humanity scores. Depending on your humanity levels, you will find that you suffer, well, usually minor until it gets really low, penalties to interacting with mortals, because you find it harder to empathize, and just seeing them as more than just a meal. For most of you, it's like humanity 6, which is a -1, except for the Nosferatus, who count their humanity as 2 dots lower, which in the case of Richard would be a -2. Which brings us to the roll. Richard is, we're just going to consider him essentially giving teamwork assistance. Manipulation plus subterfuge. Your humanity penalty does apply.
I'm like less than 1, so that's chance die, right?
Okay, yep. Of course you can't spend willpower, but yeah.
I'll just do the chance die. 0.
Okay, well, at least not a dramatic failure, although you could make it a dramatic failure.
It is. Isn't it? I'm a Nosferatu, so I have, I'm always...
Oh yes,
dramatic
all your
failure
social... Oh yes, all your social actions are automatically dramatic failures when they fail. Yes!
Yeah.
Oh boy.
Oh boy.
I will never say that
This is gonna be funny.
I will never say that this game is better than Mage. Damn, I love being a Nosferatu.
Oh dear.
The thing is, he doesn't even get beats from it, because it's just his nature, so... Unfortunate. But yes.
Oh, never mind then.
Yeah. The doctors present are severely turned off by Richard's presence. And you actually find it hard to even get their attention, as they seem to be almost mesmerized with how disgusting he is. Which means an additional -2 penalty for Richard. In addition to the -1 from your humanity. Rule is still manipulation plus subterfuge.
Oh, since I have 2, which dice would I use?
10 again. Unless I say something else, 10 again.
Okay.
That is 2 successes regardless.
That's with the -3? Jeez.
-3.
Yeah,
Some
you
people
have
would
-3.
Some people are just born to be good at this game.
I roll dice
you
really
have
well.
a-
I'm good at this. No,
But you had a -3 from the humanity and then my failure. So is that with both?
I only have 2 manipulation. Does
Then no,
mastery plan?
Yeah, you would have had a chance. Or
Well,
wait,
no. If he has 2 manipulation and 3 whatever, then the -3
Nothing.
that makes it a 2.
you have nothing.
yeah, then it
No,
would actually
then
be a
I
-4.
have
Then
roll.
it's still
Okay.
just a
Okay.
fucking chance die. You can't even.
With the chance. Oh yeah, with the chance die, it is a failure. Okay.
Yeah. Not even spending willpower would have mattered all that much in that situation. Then.
Whoops.
No. I mean, you didn't spend it. Or if you spend it, just recoup it because you couldn't have. Expected that. See, Richard is already ruining things. Fucking Nosferatu.
See, that's why I left.
Essentially the answer you're getting is they're really suspicious of you just showing up, and everyone is like, no, did you call him in? No, I didn't. Did you hear anything about it? No, I didn't. Did anyone leave a message about him coming? No. And they double and triple check, and then just, well, must have been lost.
Alright.
So, some other approach must be found, if anything.
Go back to the car park.
They wouldn't let us in.
That went less than well as I expected.
So, what exactly went wrong?
They didn't buy our story. They checked all their notes, and we were not called in to check out a body.
They
Damn,
did their
I guess
job. Damn it.
It's unfortunate when people actually do their fucking job.
Oh,
Yeah.
wait, one thing you might have forgotten that would have not changed the result, but you do have the status, which would have given you extra dice equal to your status.
Plan
That
B.
is for Richard here. No, not Richard, sorry, Peter. Getting confused
Yeah.
myself now. But I think that still wouldn't have gotten you out of the chance die.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, we are moving to Plan B then, sneaking inside.
Or I could call someone and perhaps get us access to the building.
I think that's probably the safer option that is less likely to get us put in prison.
Yeah.
Go ahead and do
Alright,
that.
Helen pulls out her phone and...
Looks at it like it's magic.
Who should she call? I'm gonna have her call her brother.
Okay.
Would he be involved in the government at all? Maybe. Alright.
Maybe. I didn't specify, but, everything
say
that is unspecified is like an empty canvas, waiting to be painted. Note, though, that you only have contacts, not allies, so you can't actually use that to make people give you favors. Contacts is more for information specifically.
Could I try to use, like, persuasion or something while I contact them to...
You mean your contacts? Or...
Like, if she's gonna call her brother, could she use, like, persuasion or socialize or something to try and convince him to pull strings for her to get them in that morgue?
It's
How
going
does
to be...
one convey puppy eyes over a phone?
Exactly. That we're about to find out. No, yes, but without actually having any dots and allies, it's going to be tricky, but not impossible.
Okay. Well, alright. She takes the phone out of her pocket and calls him.
Okay. Yeah, hello? What's up?
Hey, do you know anything about the security system for this morgue in town?
No. That's a really fucking weird question. What's up?
Oh, nothing. I'll talk to you later. She hangs up really quickly, realizing that was a horrible idea.
Scott is visibly face palming.
Peter is just looking
A few
exasperated.
A few seconds later, your phone is going to ring. He's calling back.
Smooth.
I don't answer.
Good. Continue doing this. That is good. Very good.
Can I have a word with you for just a second? You're going to have to answer the phone. Give him a reasonable excuse. Just try to be normal.
Normal.
Yes. Trust me when I say I understand the struggle too. I have to interact with people on a more frequent basis than I care to admit. What you want to do is explain to him that maybe you had a friend who knew the deceased or something of the sort.
Yeah, that's a good one. Thank you.
No problem.
Alright, I answer the phone. Ugh.
Okay, you there?
Yeah.
Okay,
my
what
call
was that
dropped.
about?
I've just got a friend who's their grandmother passed away and they didn't get to say goodbye. So I thought maybe I could help them get in there.
Roll me manipulation plus subterfuge.
Okay.
+2 because it's his her brother, and that might just fly with him.
Oh, whoops. Wrong one.
Not D&D.
That's not what I meant to click.
Just remove it from the board. Just get rid of that. Just go away.
2 successes.
Okay. Okay, he buys it apparently.
Apparently.
Apparently. He knows that she is, living in her own world sometimes, apparently. I mean... Is this really necessary?
I want to be a good friend.
Yeah, then cheer her up or whatever. Pick out a nice tombstone or whatever.
Yeah,
No,
that's
dead
probably,
people aren't actually all that romantic
less
to look at.
risky. Alright, I'll take her to the bar or something. Thank you.
Yeah. Have a good one. My sister's fucking weird.
Oh, is that?
Anyway,
Oh, I
she
didn't
was
hang
in
up
this
yet.
game.
So what?
Nothing.
Okay.
Fuck. Well then, can I use one of my disciplines to ask a question?
Yes, when applicable. So Beast's Hackles is for sniffing out the danger and weakness, and Uncanny Perception is to analyze one particular person in particular.
Oh.
I don't think Beast's Hackles really applies here.
Yeah, I don't think so either, now that you said that. Never mind. I don't know really what to do now. I guess we should try to sneak in.
Sneaking in is an option, or we could poke our noses around and try to find anything else we can find of interest. For instance, the place where he passed away, where they found the body, might be a good place to start as well.
That would also be an acceptable place to look.
Alright, let's do it.
And given that it's been a while, there probably won't be cops around to try and stop us.
Yes.
You do not actually know the place where she died. You would have to talk with the bishop to find that out.
I think that's a reasonable thing that we should do. So let's go
Yes.
ahead. One of you contact the bishop because obvious reasons.
We can come back to the morgue when it's less suspicious if need be, but right now,
Yes,
obviously...
and they've probably forgotten that we tried last time.
Yeah.
I hope that our compatriot is having more luck than we are, to be completely honest.
Right. That being said, one thing I would point out, Cat is awfully quiet. Are you even there?
Yeah, I'm here.
You could just force the issue with Dominate, of course.
Yeah, I was thinking about it.
Okay. Just pointing that out. Although the Nosferatu could also do it with Nightmare, although that's going to be draw a little bit more attention.
I thought about that, but as a detective, I mean,
Yeah.
doing that in the
It feels like almost an insult to do it.
Yeah.
I mean, you probably have to go back there someday. You have to go back there someday, and that would be awkward.
Yeah.
You're a vampire. Fuck the mortals.
I mean, yes, as a long-term goal, that is the strategy.
They're just food.
Mm.
Who cares what they think?
Get your fucking zero humanity ass out of here.
Yeah.
Funnily enough, Quentin has actually the highest humanity, but that UA has the lowest humanity around here, so that's important.
This was not.
I do not object. This is accurate. This is what years of IT does to you.
Ah,
Oh
shit.
god, you do IT.
Fucking people.
Okay.
I can fix computers. You can't fix people.
Sure you can. Years of therapy.
Nah. That's just covering up the cracks, really. Anyway, it would have been a nice segue if I hadn't interrupted it with that little shout there. But yes, good segue to Quentin. What is he up to?
Quentin is going to. What time is it?
It would be like around 11
Okay.
in the night, of course.
He's gonna make his way to where that midnight mass is supposed to be, but he's gonna take his time and like listen to like what people on the streets are saying about local events, current events,
Okay.
rumor mongering.
Mm-hmm. Hmm. Okay, roll me wits plus the higher of your investigation or streetwise -3, please.
Does specialization in rumors help?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, so investigation is okay, so that would make it streetwise. So 3. What was the first one?
Wits.
It's wits. Okay, so 6. I'm
-3.
gonna spend a willpower.
Well, that balances it out. Okay. Unfortunately, you will not pick up on anything that seems immediately useful. At least not related to this particular murder case. But we're going to be a bit vague here. You are going to get the informed the city condition, which you can, resolve in the future for whatever a bonus catches your fancy. No, when the situation
Where the
arises.
hell are very bottom left, second page. Jesus. Okay. Formed the city.
So what here just happened is there's another mechanical bit in this game called conditions, which are just conditions that apply to your character. Like, for instance, certain situations might make your character feel extremely guilty, or feel inspired or whatever. And these have like minor mechanical effects, and you actually get beats for either playing into them or resolving them. Like, for instance, if your character was shaken, then this is essentially a free coupon to voluntarily fail a die roll to get a beat for that. Although this is, of course, a positive condition. We'll see what comes of that later. But otherwise, making his way there on foot, right?
Okay.
Or that was a question. Is that correct?
Oh, what was the question?
You're making your way to the church
Yeah.
on foot. Mhm.
On foot, yeah. So he's just he's taking his time,
Right.
listening, and then plans to be there like shortly before the mass starts.
Right. Okay, to clarify, there might have been a little misunderstanding. There isn't going to be any midnight mass today. It's not Sunday. But that's still where, you usually can find her if she isn't busy somewhere else. Certainly the regular church services are not active anymore by this hour.
One would hope.
One would hope. Okay. And the rest of the group jumping in the car, making their way to the church as well.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Yep.
This is correct.
That's correct. Any noteworthy conversations that happen on the way there? If anything. Maybe you just
My character remains silenced.
He's just glad to be here.
Yeah. I'm feeling so important doing things for the prince and sheriff.
In this nice car.
Yeah. Man, is this
Things
real
are
leather?
moving up and
Wait, is it real leather?
Why wouldn't it be? Excuse me?
Wait, is Helen still talking?
yes.
No, I wasn't. I wasn't like questioning why it wouldn't be. It's just I don't drive nice cars. I'm a locksmith for freak's sake.
That's okay. Maybe I'll let you drive mine one time. Anyway, we should
that's a good idea. I don't think that's a good idea at all.
Okay, this actually is a reasonable, good point to introduce another thing. You will find that a lot of you, well, all of you in fact, that was a little bit stupid there, have a section on your character sheet that says aspirations. Aspirations, as the name implies, are like goals, short-term and long-term, that your character, sometimes the player, and like it's an out-of-character aspiration and not in-character, pursues. Of course, your main focus right now is getting this investigation done, but if you find ways to work towards your aspirations or even fulfill them, that's good, because you get beats for that. You will notice that each one of you has at least one aspiration related to the group. Usually something like something coterie mate or something coterie. So during these small moments of downtime, it's a pretty good way to try to tackle these if you have an idea of how to approach these. Start up with these, yes.
I have to ask, given one of mine was fail a social role, have I already completed one of them?
Oh yes, you have actually. Thanks for reminding me. So yeah, that is give yourself a beat and get rid of this aspiration for now.
All right.
You may immediately create a new aspiration to replace it with.
Yeah, if you have like some like a short-term goal immediately in mind, that seems it shouldn't be the same thing. But if something immediately jumps to mind, you can fill it in. But don't feel rushed on that.
All right.
Okay. Alrighty. Anyway, on to the church. The car people will in fact be a little bit before Quentin, although I think there's going to be some communication that you sync up with Quentin, I take it?
Yeah, I'm gonna call him.
Okay. Yeah. This particular church is a little bit closer to the, well, not the outskirts, but away from downtown, away from the center. So, although it's still relatively quiet here, occasionally you hear some shouting and what appears to be fighting, even occasionally what may even be a gunshot. Although it might...
In the ghetto.
Yeah. Although right now the entire city is a ghetto, really. No, not quite. But getting there. But yeah, it's reasonably...
I mean, you said Chicago, so I can believe it.
Yeah. Unfortunately, the church has been defaced, or the outside of the church has been defaced with various graffitis, some directly pertinent, some less so. Although I guess as soon as the first one started, the rest have felt invited to immortalize themselves on the wall. Yeah. But relatively soon you will be gathered together again. And the scene is yours.
So, how'd Morg go?
I don't want to talk about it.
They wouldn't let us in.
Varied success.
They actually did their jobs and checked if we were scheduled to be there or not. And we weren't.
I'm not exactly surprised, but yeah.
I mean, if anything, that at least means the body will be there undisturbed if they're that competent.
You would hope, anyway.
So, do you hear anything?
Not directly. Maintaining a pulse on the city is never so cut and dry.
But you would realize that trouble is brewing, in a general sense. People are afraid or angry or both.
I didn't need a success in Streetwise to know that.
Yeah, I think my descriptions have made that hopefully obvious enough. Okay, proceeding then?
Proceeding then.
Okay.
Alright, so what did your lead... Well, I didn't ask his character what his leads got him.
I just said.
I didn't hear him. It's my bad.
The getting a pulse on the city is never so cut and dry.
I see.
Like, you can't just say, oh, no.
It would have been an awful coincidence if something like listening to random people on the street would have given him a lead on this particular incident. But it might still be useful in the future. Now, here's an important question. Which of the assembled actually do regularly go to midnight mass? Probably not the crony, but who knows?
I go.
Is it an Invictus or an Ordo Dracul thing?
No. Okay, so of course nobody
Or
of you is a member of the Lance. However, it's just like mortal religion that the doors are open, and in a lot of cities, not so much in this one, it is quite customary that there's like a spoken or unspoken alliance between the Lankea et Sanctum and the Invictus. But it's really a religious thing, whether you buy into the whole Longinus thing or not, or at least pretend you do, to play nice or whatever.
I might go, but for a purely not scientific, like educational. Like, he doesn't know enough, so he kind of goes to see who's there, what they say, to kind of learn about it.
Yep, that's fair.
My character would
I think that mine also has a similar view on that. It's another way to look into the entire vampire community, to study their culture, essentially.
Yeah, fair enough.
Mine wouldn't go.
Okay.
I go to keep up here.
I could go, but I think my character at this point would probably, I don't know. It's like late night, correct? Like almost midnight. Bars are closing, kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Damn. Okay, no, then I wouldn't go to the bar then.
Mhm.
Fuck it.
Well,
I mean, it depends on the bar.
On a weeknight, sure.
Yeah, but okay, midnight mass usually would be on the night from Saturday to Sunday, so Sunday midnight. Or
Somebody died. It was Cat.
We lost
it's
Cat.
Cat.
Cad died.
He has been
So-
awfully quiet to begin with, so this doesn't actually change anything, to be entirely honest.
So, I think bars would be open during midnight mass. Because that would be Saturday night.
Right.
Okay, I'm okay with my character just choosing to go to the bar instead.
This is my religion.
Oh, yeah?
It's the only thing good to me.
Yeah.
I'm taking 2 shots from the book.
And
of
I
Daniel.
will in fact invite anyone who wants to go to the bar with me.
Wait, right now?
No, I thought we were talking about like if we
Right.
regularly go
Yeah.
rather than
Oh.
right now.
Yeah. Okay.
I don't
okay.
Yeah.
To
The
clarify,
question
I
was
don't think
if
that
essentially would the bishop have seen you at midnight mass at least a couple of times, or if
Yes.
perhaps even as a regular.
That is my bad. I misunderstood what was being asked.
No problem. Don't worry.
I'd like to clarify that it's not. Don't think that Peter would frequently go. It's just that he's occasionally checked in just to check things out.
Mhm.
And he's back.
Welcome back, Cad.
Kat, are you still there? You are really fucking awfully quiet. Are you having trouble with your computer?
If
Everybody's
you're asking
dead.
me that, then yeah.
Yeah.
I just my computer just froze up. Anyways,
Okay.
it froze up when you asked, does anyone here attend midnight mass? And I was gonna say my character does semi-regularly.
Oh, okay. That's an interesting point, though. How do you sort of find some balance or agreement between essentially being a vampiric pagan and being a very quote unquote heavy quotes vampiric Christian? You are in the Circle of the Crone.
Yeah. Well, it's more of just it's partly to expand intrigue. It's mostly I attend under the auspices of being interested in the religion, but I'm actually more interested in the people.
All right, fair enough.
The operations of the area.
Yep, fair enough. You wouldn't be turned away, although you probably do draw some, well, strange or sometimes hostile looks anyway, but you're definitely not being turned away. Okay. Yeah, anyway, the front door is closed, although you know from past experience that usually 6 knocks with the... I don't even know what you call it, like this sort of grip that you have that you can also use to knock. Not even sure what that's called.
I think it's called a knocker.
Okay, yeah, makes sense.
6 knocks.
Yes.
So shave and a haircut.
Not necessarily that.
The opening notes to Takata and Fugue.
That's our secret sign. But no, 6 knocks usually tell her that, it's not a mortal knocking.
Yeah, shaving a haircut's 5, not 6. Sorry.
It's
Bio.
true.
Shave and a haircut. Oh yeah, you're right.
So it's either 5 or 7.
In any case, about a minute later, it usually takes her a while to approach, of course, being in the deepest bowels of the church, spacemen and so on. The door is open from the inside. With the bishop even being in her vestments. Very clearly reminiscent of Catholic vestments, although the color scheme is certainly darker. Yes. I didn't expect any guests tonight. How can I help?
We're here to assist with the, the troubles of the city undergoing. We were hoping that maybe you could answer some questions or offer assistance.
Okay. Before we continue, it didn't quite hit you as you opened the door, or as she opened the door, rather. But after a moment to settle in, you do feel, your beasts, your inner animalistic drives, reacting to her, and especially to her relatively powerful presence compared to yours. Everyone who isn't used to her presence, that is, everyone who hasn't visited a Midnight Mass at least semi-regularly, please roll me Resolve plus Composure -2. I think that is Scott and Richard.
Yeah.
Okay, Richard is fine. As is Scott. Okay. So yeah, you feel a little bit on edge in her presence. This is mostly Scott and Richard here. But you keep yourself in check.
However, in response...
Reaches in the pocket, starts chewing on Teddy Grahams.
Yeah.
As my beast starts reacting, I start, scraping my... Not scraping, but, rubbing my arm, trying to get dirt
Trying
or
to get
dead
the
skin
filth off.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
She looks towards Quentin and is like, you still struggle with that problem?
It's not always easy to keep yourself composed.
Quentin just looks away.
It's not always easy to keep yourself composed, and for a man of his stature, I think he's doing pretty well.
You shouldn't blame yourself for your particular role in God's plan, Quentin.
I'm not here for God tonight. Tonight I'm here for the prince.
Sad revelation, but very true. We would like to have a word with you about the recently deceased, if we could.
Thus do we acknowledge the first among us, and trust in our brethren in diverse communities to choose leaders wise and worshipful. Let us also aspire to that more perfect predation, and let those who have been chosen to be first among equals to be magnanimous in their strictures, be forgiving in their dealings with other damned, and let them be wise in their law-giving. Right. Well, what does the prince want from me, then?
Turns to the rest of them.
Well,
we already said we're here for we need to talk about the recently deceased and where the deceased
last
or where
month were.
Yes, that.
Oh, yes. Well, I am sorry to say, but you should consider the matter closed. You can return that this way to the prince as well. There's no particular interest or need to investigate this any further.
Why?
Curious. Why?
Well, I have found every answer that I needed to get.
And
He's
what are your
going to
sources?
want
We
those
heard these
answers.
answers.
Then I suppose he will have to take him himself. Take them himself.
Looks at her like she's crazy. You understand what it is you're saying, right?
Absolutely. I'm sure the prince and me can find some way to settle the matter. But as I said, there's no need for any further investigation of the matter.
I can't quite convince myself that this is the case. Though, don't get me wrong, I respect your opinion. Simply that, if there's anything that we can look into, we'd prefer to at least see things for ourselves. I think we're entitled to at least that.
Well, I can't stop you, nor will I try, but you're
You
on
will
your
not
own
aid
then.
us either.
No.
Fair enough. I have no business here. Let's go.
Yeah, this isn't much help. Getting out of
As
there.
I'm walking out the door, old bitch.
Looks up from the notes that he was taking to give.
Well then.
Quentin puts his hands in his pockets and follows him.
I think we should, when we get outside the building, not in her earshot, because I don't mind calling her an old bitch within earshot, because she probably could hear me say that.
Yeah?
But I don't give a shit about that one. But when we're outside the building, outside of earshot, we should probably contact our informant and let him know that she's being particularly difficult.
This seems
Which is
somewhat
oddly
unusual.
suspicious. Yes, exactly.
Wasn't he, the deceased, a particular favorite of hers?
Actually, I'm not sure myself. Was this
That
true?
was, in fact, the way the sheriff worded it, yes.
I
Then-
think we should maybe double check the morgue. Maybe they're not doing their job correctly just by coincidence.
Yes, perhaps.
In the future, Scott, I would try not to actively insult vampires that are older and probably a lot more powerful than you, either through blood or through.
Powerful to me, but when she's being particularly difficult and insulting the prince indirectly, I take issue with that.
As a matter of fact, probably the only thing keeping her from lashing out is the fact that you actually have city status and you're in official capacity.
Right, but I've worked hard to get to where I am, and I'm not.
That's true.
I'd rather not. This is to Scott. I've worked hard to get to where I'm at, and I'd rather not have that be hurt or the rest of the coterie be hurt by unwise words.
Fair enough. I just don't particularly enjoy the bit of bitterness that she gave us, or the lack of information that she gave us, and once again, the indirect insult to our prince.
Sometimes you just have to swallow it and move on.
This is perhaps something that is, for those of you who are regulars or semi-regulars, you don't actually know the exact details, but in the city's history, the big struggle a few decades ago, which saw most of the Carthians of the city wiped out or driven to the fringes, the Sanctum actually, not support it, but essentially tried to stay neutral, trying to contain the conflict between the Carthians and the other covenants, as it turned out. actually, to give a quick summary, essentially, there was a big power bid coming from the Carthians trying to oust the Invictus government. And it was mostly a stalemate, for the most part political. Violence was kept in check, roughly.
Stalemate.
What did I say?
Stalemate.
Stalemate, yes. I'm sorry.
It's okay.
Yeah. With the Sanctum sort of trying to mediate between the two sides. That all changed when, most of the Carthian leadership was ashed, thanks to the Crone's Kruak rituals. As the Invictus had made some dealings with the Crone, and that is why the Circle of the Crone is one of the leading covenants right now. And the Sanctum felt somewhat spurred by this, and a result of this is that very often she likes to pontificate on those particular passages in the Testament of Longinus that are about, government, vampire society, and so on. So that is a reoccurring theme with her sermons.
Sounds like my character would really, really hate to attend those.
Yes. So that a little bit for context there. So trying to get, going back to the morgue, trying to get in there.
No choice, really.
Steph, have you tried closing and restarting your Discord?
Like, not just hitting X, but like...
Yeah, like fully closing it and restarting it entirely. I think she might not be hearing right now.
There she goes.
Oh,
Maybe just trying that.
Oh, maybe she's trying that, yeah. Okay. Yeah, let's give her a minute. We might as well use it for a quick 5-minute break. And see if it hopefully works once she is back. Do I have my classic intermission song in here? No, I apparently don't. That is curious. That I need.
Hi, Hilda.
Hi.
How are you?
That was the audio.
Cad also sounds sick. Are you okay?
Yeah, I'm fine.
No, that's just how Cad sounds, actually.
Yeah, I mean,
No,
he's
it's
always
usually-
sounds deep. Like right now, he sounds depressed and deep.
Right, like there's no energy in his voice.
Like,
I'm in a good mood, though.
Okay.
But regardless, a quick 5-minute break, and then we continue.
All right. Be right back.
Thanks.
I hate this music. Holy shit.
Why?
It's so fucking awful. Oh! Oh, God. Alright, we're gonna go do something else. I'm gonna mute this.
Just so you know, I'm not specifically trying to rebuke you. One of my aspirations is keep the economy in check.
Oh no, I'm aware. I'm
Okay.
just staying true to... I'm honestly just trying to stay true to what my character kind of believes. My character was kind of only lives right now because of the direct intervention of the prince, so he kind of has an invested... How do I put this? He kind of respects what the prince wants. Since, the whole I wouldn't be quote-unquote alive if it was not for him saying something. So having someone just pretty much is essentially saying, oh, well, I'm going to directly impede what the prince wants here. It does not sit well with my character. I'm gonna go play Osu while I wait.
You should play Osu to this song.
No.
Back.
Welcome back.
I'm back.
Welcome
Welcome
back
back.
to both of you.
Thanks.
Test.
Hi.
Hi.
Christian hates your break music.
Oh my god! How can you? I'm
Just
not.
being a monster in general.
Yeah.
Wait, I didn't hear any music. I'm disappointed.
You probably turned it off in Roll20. Might want to check your master music volume on the settings. That is the gear symbol.
Yeah, I am. No, it's maxed out, and yeah, the jukebox didn't have anything playing.
That is really weird. Then might be a connection thing. Then. Steph, is she your?
Yeah,
Okay. Is your Discord working fine now?
I think so.
Okay. You can hear
It
me.
might have been my internet.
Sorry, what?
It might have been my internet.
Yeah, I mean, it happens. But, I mean, I've had occasional problems with Discord as well. It just sometimes happens.
It's like everyone's names were highlighted, like they were talking, but no one was saying anything.
Yeah.
And it would like last for minutes.
Yeah. I know that.
Yeah.
Okay, Christian is currently be right back still?
No, he's here.
No,
Okay.
I'm
Or I
here.
thought he was.
Okay.
I never left.
Alright. Then, Robot is back, I think?
Yeah.
Alright, perfect. Then, can continue on. Yes. Back at the Metropolitan Hospital. Actually, we could hand wave it, but the question is, how would Quentin have gotten there? Because a room would have gotten extremely tight in the car right now.
Normally he would walk places, but he would either if room in the car was a huge problem and they all wanted to get there at roughly the same time, he'd probably just take an Uber.
Fair enough. Good enough. Alrighty.
What year is it?
Present day, present time.
Okay.
Current year.
Yeah. Or in some vague nebulous day X, which is roughly now. But maybe a little bit later, or maybe a little bit earlier. But yes, it has no particular bearing on this story. It just roughly in the now.
Okay. I was just curious because
We need to
You
know
had
whether or not
mentioned-
Uber exists.
Yes,
Yeah,
yeah, I know,
'cause-
I got that. Yeah. And cat cut out again. Nothing I can do. Oh well. Anyway, back at the hospital. How do you plan to tackle it now?
well, I think a smaller group would be ideal.
Yeah.
Let's see.
What you trying to look up?
I'm just looking at my skills and etc. Trying to see if I can. Here's a shot in the dark.
Okay.
Do any of my cafe regular contacts work for this morgue?
That's an interesting one. Sure, let's say you have an EMT among them. Not for the morgue, but for the hospital.
I was gonna say that actually makes sense because If I imagine an EMT going anywhere after their 72 fucking hour shift, it's gonna be a coffee shop.
Yeah. That's what I thought as well. So that would make sense. But yeah, nothing specifically with the morgue, but the hospital, yes.
Okay. So now I just have to come up with a clever... Okay. So I think I can get us in the hospital. But after that, getting to the morgue will have to be on your own merit or skill.
I would say that you, amongst us, we probably have the ability to brute force our way at that point. I'm not talking about physical violence, obviously.
Obviously.
Okay.
If it comes down to it, I do have contacts in the police, but I'd rather they stay not involved until it's absolutely necessary, and we have no other way of getting in.
Yeah.
So we should try every other option first.
I could check that if I know a corner in this place and try and get in that way.
You have contacts?
Allies, even.
Allies.
Oh.
Well, that's even better.
Yeah. At least for the
Allies
situation.
do stuff for you.
Yeah. So yes, you could call one of them up.
I think that would actually be a good course of action.
So what did you say?
That would be a good course of action.
Yeah.
Yes, everybody else agrees. Do it.
Yeah.
All right. Pull out my phone.
And then? What exactly is the favor you're asking for? Essentially just getting them to convince people to give you access to the morgue, right?
Yes, because of an investigation. Same story as before, because it actually would be a decent story.
Yeah. I would peg that as a 3-dot favor, given the... Actually, how many people and who do you want to get in there as well?
I would say... I think 2 would still work, but maybe not the same detective from before.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's understandable.
Sorry, Richard. You gotta stay away this time.
Yep.
So yeah, who would come with you then?
I'll go.
We
I
got
was
volunteer.
thinking either Helen or Ying, because either one of them actually sort of have the... you don't really question the Ventru, and Helen is sort of in her own world, and has that air around her.
Almost literally once. Oh, quick! Hold on. Pause for a moment here. One thing I forgot. It came to me in the break, and then I forgot to actually talk about it. Steph, did you have the trouble while they were talking with the bishop, or were you actually listening in?
No, I didn't hear anything.
Okay, that's makes a lot of sense. No, that's not what I mean. Because that would have been one opportunity to use your auspex, for instance. And I'm fine with you rewinding to actually attempt to use it, if you want to. But that's up to you. There's, generally speaking, unless they have some very strange powers, there's no way to actually figure out that someone is auspexing your ass. Generally speaking, anyway. So unless you presume that you would have tricks of the sort, as I said, fairly unlikely, you could have used it. And I'm fine with you rewinding, as I said.
Hold on, let me look over the. But I don't want to hold everyone back with that.
But it would help us.
Right,
We're
it would
doing
help.
we're doing an investigation.
Like,
Right.
we're doing this because we failed at church. So if we suddenly didn't fail at church, nothing is wrong with that.
Yeah, I don't think it would have made it so that you would have just not failed at church. Though that being said, I wouldn't frame it as failing. To be fair, although it still might give you extra information that might be useful in the future.
Some information is better than the information we got.
Exactly.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Which was go away.
Okay. So should I roll first?
Yeah. So this would be uncanny perception right now because you're trying to read a person
Okay, so intelligence was the.
plus all specs. And you get a question per success. Obviously, you can put willpower into this if you're extremely serious about it. Okay, 3 successes. So up to 3 questions. Keep in mind, the ones listed are only sample questions. Anything that is related to, well, any secrets or weaknesses a person has is technically a valid question to
What was
ask.
the name of the bishop again?
I don't think I actually specifically mentioned her name, but it would be Syra. That is Cyra. At least that's how she's known. May very well not be her real name, but that's how everyone knows her.
Syra.
Oh, no.
How well-
Okay, no, that's not something you ask. So, Auspex is essentially a kind of ESP. These
okay.
questions are not actually asked by you. They are hallucinations and intuitions that you just experience. Out of character and to a degree in character, you have some control over the information you're getting. But it's just, you're struck with hallucinations, visions, and so on related to the questions you, as a player, want to know.
Okay.
It also wouldn't make sense to ask in character what a person's vice or their dirge is, because, in character these don't actually exist in that particular form.
What do you suck at?
Does it have to be like a yes or no question?
No, absolutely not.
Okay.
That being
What
said,
is your dirge? Yes.
Is this person being controlled by someone else?
That's a good question.
That's a fun
Yes, by God. Weren't you paying attention?
Yeah.
Okay, plus I like that joke. Thank you.
That's a good one. Yeah. Actually, to this particular question, you wouldn't have gotten any sort of vision or reaction, probably equating to a no. Otherwise, you probably would have seen some sort of, vision associated with that.
What is this person's dirge?
Nice. Yeah. You see this as a vision. She's essentially sitting in one of the pews next to what appears to you to be an indistinct humanoid entity, person. You don't actually hear any specific words, but you get this sort of emotional sense of someone unloading. As I said, you don't get any words that make any sense. It's just that you get this feeling of someone unloading, and she's just listening in occasionally, giving advice. And that's what you get.
Last question.
Yes.
What does she know about the murder we're investigating?
Now that is awfully specific. That's a little bit too specific.
What does she know about the victim?
Yeah, that's that could work. Yeah. Although I would like to point out, you know that's her favorite ghoul, so you might not actually get much else out of that particular line of question. Just warning you of an blind turn.
What are they afraid of?
That is a good one. That is a very good one. Yeah. How to? Yeah. You see, this is also a vision, of course, how she is quite literally seeming to be playing with fire. She has a stick of wood in her hand. There's a relatively large campfire in front of her. The campfire is casting very strange shadows, almost seeming like wings at times, like avian wings. And she just seems to be stoking the fire, picking around in it. But then the entire stick catches fire, and so does she.
Oh.
There you go.
Well done.
Of course, if some of these are absolutely too obtuse, I can try to reframe them to make a little bit more sense in a strictly mechanical sense, but I think they should be fairly clear.
I think they're fine.
Okay.
I think I understand.
Okay. That certain level of ambiguity is kind of, inherent and helps the situation, really, instead of, I just strictly throw the mechanical terms at you and so on. Yeah. I don't think any of these answers would have changed, though, your course of action. And would you, in fact, have shared that knowledge with the rest of the group?
I will have after we left.
Okay. With that in mind, would ever anyone...
During the car ride?
Yeah.
Make the most sense, doesn't it? Would anyone have anything to add or question about that during the car ride?
So it's a metaphorical fire rather than a literal.
That's what I would think. Being consumed by something.
Maybe the civil unrest going on.
If it's supposed to be metaphorical, I wonder if the shadows that you described mean anything.
What is causing this political unrest again? Does it have to do with this murder, or is it?
No. Generally, like what really started it is like a spree of extreme bodily harm, up to including killings caused by police brutality, or what at least the public has interpreted as police brutality. And then riots going off, of course, protests. The police try their best to keep it under wraps, but that just leads to, or not under wraps, rather in check, often leading to even more violence on both sides. So that's the situation. This, at least as far as you can tell, up to this point, seems to be entirely unrelated, except, that there's this whole assumption as far as the vampire establishment of the city goes, that this whole thing is really just a power play, essentially a cover for the Carthians trying to grab for power again. It may or may not, but that's the common conspiracy theory anyway.
For the vision about the dirge, do we know what emotion she actually had in the constellation of whoever she was with?
No. It would also not be immediately relevant to the question. If it had been, I would have mentioned something along those lines.
Okay.
Okay. No more questions, I take it? Or things to discuss on it? Okay, back to the morgue then.
Nope.
Oh, okay, yeah. Back to the morgue then. And, yeah, sorry for that, Bio. You were about to make a call.
Yeah.
So if you're
pretty sure I
trying
know.
you're trying to get who in with you? That was the question, I believe.
Yeah, I was thinking either Ying or Helen.
Do you want to go?
She volunteered, but is she particularly investigative?
I mean, there's probably someone better who could go. I've got 1 point in it.
Who's good?
Well,
I mean, other than the guy who already tried once and will be very noticeable.
I also
Right,
only
so-
have one in investigation.
I got 3. I'm a detective, but yeah.
Yeah.
You should probably take me then. Even though I'm going to be just as useful as him being an Nosferatu.
Then again,
being
maybe
Richard.
it would be best to get the actual detective back in because it does correlate with the story I said before.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, Richard, come on.
All right.
If I can get this going, we're going to go again.
Okay. Making some calls.
Why don't I come with to make it smoother?
I mean, you're also a medical professional, although in a very different field.
Yes.
Still psychiatry, though, so...
Oh, yeah.
Plus, you've got.
We could be going into the head of a murderer.
Yeah.
Well, no, it's just more like using my status to... Like,
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. With, all these people that are kind of related, I would say it's... you have 2 dots in Allies Corona, right?
Yes.
Yeah. That pretty much covers it without any rolls. If you had brought in any civilians, they would have had to navigate a little bit more red tape, and there would have been a roll required. Although not a particularly hard one.
All right.
Yes. On to the scene, then. Right now... actually, that's a good point. I forgot the name of your touchstone, Peter. Can you remind me real quick?
Ben Dawson.
Ben, thank you. Ben would, in fact, have just checked in for his quote-unquote shift, as it were. So you're not entirely alone, but aside from that, the morgue is fairly abandoned, given circumstances.
Mm-hmm.
And Ben would help you find out the unfortunate body, the victim in question.
Yeah.
I'm not sure. Her name actually hasn't come up yet, but you would be aware of it. Posted it in chat. So Ben will just talk. Okay. Yeah, we already have a report. Do you just want to read it or take a look at her yourself?
I'd like to get a bit of a second opinion if it's possible.
Yes, of course. Goes looking for a moment from the old Corona report. Well, old. The other. Not done by Ben himself. While he, as I said, readies the body to be inspected.
I idly ask, did you hear anything about this case come up previously?
Nothing for me. I wasn't the one checking up on her, though.
All right.
I'm sorry I can't be of more help.
It's fine.
In any case, quickly skimming the report, well, it fits pretty well with what you can immediately see. Many large and extremely forceful or extreme blunt force trauma to multiple parts of the body, is what I'm trying to say. The kill hit was most likely a heavy hit to the throat, leading to, well, all the unfortunateness that... Yes, exactly. A near collapse of the... as in, it was a seriously heavy blow.
Serious contusion to the thoracic region, leading to collapse esophagus.
Yes,
something like that.
Perfect. Thank you. But yes, aside from that, there are, as I said, blunt force trauma, almost, well, not everywhere on her body, but definitely the skull, most of her torso, and yeah, the shape would suggest some sort of simple staff, maybe like a baton or just an iron pipe. Although, as I said, the sheer force of the trauma is pretty impressive for, you know, the suggested implements used to do it.
From the looks of things, it sounds like there was... It looks like a blunt weapon, rounded rather than squared off or anything like that, was used multiple times on this victim. Does it look like more than one person attacked her?
Nothing that would suggest it. Some hits essentially on her arms would suggest that she struggled or tried to protect herself to a degree.
Defensive ones.
Yes, exactly. Noteworthy on that line of questioning, though, is that all hits are on the front of her body. Nothing to the side or back, for that matter. So definitely implies that she was attacked from the front, or, you know, wasn't in any...
Was facing her assailant.
Exactly.
Jeez.
Well, what do you think?
Well, from what it looks like here, whoever attacked her probably didn't have the element of surprise in the sense that they snuck up on her. I'm fairly sure that she was familiar with whoever was assaulting her, because it looks like they came at her directly rather than any sort of there probably may have been premeditation given the amount of vicious attacks in this place. I'm not sure what exactly the weapon was, but it can have been may have been simple as an iron pipe, but it could have been something like a baton, a nightstick, a club in some form or another.
Nightsticks aren't really meant to do this. They're,
This is a lot of force.
Yes.
yeah.
Whoever was doing this definitely meant to kill.
Yes.
I was gonna say,
Especially with
one
the,
thing you gotta consider is that we do have vampires in this city. So how much force can a vampire hit with?
That's true.
Yeah, but
well,
you're
a whole
not
lot.
there.
You're not saying that
Which
out
is why
loud,
I didn't-
hope.
I
Then
didn't.
you're also-
No, I'm not there, which is why I didn't. Which is why
Yeah.
I wanted to say it out of character. But you guys should be aware of that kind of thing.
Yes, but we're
Yeah,
not
but
gonna
Ben
screw this up.
is right there.
I'm not going to say right now. It almost seems inhuman.
It could have been done by a vampire.
Yeah, what do you think?
It's fair.
But it's like it seems a stunning amount of force was used.
Yeah. One
Does it, like, without a doubt implicate a superhuman strength?
No. I wouldn't say, without a doubt, it could simply be someone who was on drugs, pretty much, could use that much force.
Speaking of
Vitae
which,
is a hell of a drug.
one thing, it's a minor footnote. There was some alcohol in her system, but like sort of like an evening drink kind of nothing
Tipsy
that would
rather
cause
than pass out drunk.
nothing that would cause a serious inebriation. Yeah.
All right. Well, this is certainly stunning. Poor girl.
Oh yeah.
Do you
As
mind
for
if
the
we take a
scene,
couple-
that's one thing I.
Oh yes.
Which may also explain why the direction of the attacks is she was in fact found naked, it should be said, on her bed in her apartment in this state.
Yeah.
And yes, the scene, as you would imagine, does imply at least some degree of struggle.
I'd imagine that there was not a substantial amount of blood on the scene, but enough that was caused by the injuries to be left behind and stuff. Because blunt force blows don't usually break the skin unless they're like substantial.
Right. Which in some of these cases these are, but again, it wouldn't, have caused
It's not
an
like
entire
stabbing.
bloodbath, but yeah.
All right. Ben, is it all right if we take a couple pictures of this and take a copy of that coroner's report with us for investigation?
A copy should be fine, yeah.
All right. Thank you very much.
No problem. I'll get to copying it while you make your pictures. And he's leaving the scene for a moment.
Taking out the phone, looking to Richard. Do you have any thoughts on this?
Well, they just found naked, but there's no mention of any seminal fluid found or anything, so it wasn't a rape, as far as we can tell.
That
There
is in
was
fact
some-
correct.
Say again, sir?
That is in fact correct. As in,
Yeah.
there's nothing that would imply any intercourse that happened in her recent history.
Right.
So it may have been a interaction that was leading towards that, or it may have been that someone's broke into her apartment while she was sleeping.
Yeah. We'll have to check the apartment when we...
I'm sure that would
We-
probably be kept in the records on this report. They usually list the deceased's home address in their files.
Right. We can check for signs of breaking and entering when we go there.
Yeah.
Oh, one last minor thing that all of you would pick up simply by smell, really. At least the corpse as in front of you doesn't seem to have any vitae left in her system. So
Drained. Okay.
I'm not saying there's no blood in her. That's
Yes,
important.
I mean drained of vitae, not
Yeah.
blood.
But that could have simply been either she hasn't been properly fed vitae in like a month, or during the struggle she expended that vitae to protect herself.
Interesting. Noting that down in my own research notes.
Mhm.
Keeping that off the coroner's report.
Yeah. What's this?
Victim has no vitae. Investigate vampire blood history.
Yeah.
Consult
To be fair-
parent vampire. Why not fed properly?
To be fair, if on a coroner report you had no vitae, everyone would just think you're being redundant and stupid because all you're really saying is no life.
It's true. It's true.
Victim had no life at time of death.
Holy
Doesn't
shit!
fact
I would
check
lose,
that
I
she
would
was
lose
killed.
my shit reading that report. I'd be like,
She died
Only
when she was
game
killed.
found on hard drive was RuneScape Classic. Victim had no vitae.
That's awful. That's
All right.
fucking
Okay. Return to the rest of the group then?
Yeah.
Okay.
And thank Ben for helping me with this again.
He's all humble. It's nothing. All friends and all that.
Yeah. Just trying to be friendly.
Mm-hmm.
All right, back to the rest of the group.
Yep. The scene is yours.
Scott greets them with a grin. So, were you able to get inside this time?
Yeah, this time worked out.
Nah.
We
We got
Sounds
her. Got her.
copy of the
Address.
president's report and my own notes on
Oh, thank
my
God, we got the
observations.
address.
And we got a look at her, and it's well.
pulled out phone with pictures. Not pretty.
You're worse than me. I was gonna say well, as you can see, she has multiple blunt wounds. She tried to defend herself. May have known the assailant.
Quentin
Oh,
takes
those
pictures.
Man, looks like somebody took her to the batting cages.
Seems like it was completely unexpected or not even subtle. It was just straightforward.
It was either someone she trusted or someone she wasn't expecting.
Yeah.
That means we probably have a better chance of finding out more heading over to the apartment.
Agreed.
Well, let's just hope there are no cops hanging around.
Well, if there are, I might be able to have a word with them.
Right.
Doors shouldn't give us any problems.
Oh, speaking of which, you might want to, when we get there, could you look around to see if there was any signs of locks being forced in the first place?
I can do that.
Day's a good one.
All right.
Okay. Yeah. It's actually not too far from here. It's a apartment building. It's well, in the it is in the better part of town, although it is perhaps the shabbiest apartment that you would find there, essentially, or apartment building.
Looks a little I look a little disappointed. You think for being her favorite, she would give her a better place to stay.
She is still a ghoul.
Yeah.
Still, though.
Well then. Yeah, I might as well continue straight. Just heading straight inside?
Looking around for anyone suspicious or any cops. Probably someone who's more perceptive than I am, even though I don't think I'm bad at it. I just don't think I'm great at it.
I mean, if it's like just a check my surroundings, you can always just, try the roll, and then you'll see what comes up.
So that would be it's shit. I know it's wits and
Composure, usually.
Which plus composure?
Yeah. Composure is sometimes replaced by a skill if that is more applicable in given the situation.
okay, so 6. Damn.
Okay. I mean, the mathematical average would be 2. Unfortunately, UA. Unfortunately, there's nothing really to be found. So
That's fine.
that's like the first real empty exceptional success.
I'll take the condition.
No, actually, that's a good point, though. You get nothing else out of it, but you can note down a steadfast for perception. so you get something out of it.
Good.
Yes, the only thing really noteworthy,
Explosions!
yeah, seriously, wow. This particular suite is relatively quiet. Of course, you have passers-by and so on everywhere. But, you know, given the usual traffic here, this is relatively slow. There is, in fact, a small police barricade, like 2 cars and some... I'm not even sure what they're called. You know, these small portable barriers. They don't actually protect everything, but they make it look like you're not supposed to cross here.
Police tape.
No, not the tape, although we get to that in a moment. These simple street barriers that, you know, you could just walk over.
Oh, you mean the I know what you're talking about.
The
Those
concrete divider thingies.
I think they're just called barricades.
Yeah.
No, you're right. They are just called barricades, but yeah, the things that are ineffective at their fucking job because any person can get over them.
Yeah, it's just for the symbolic purpose to make clear you're not supposed to go here, and there is in fact a small police barricade of that kind down the street.
Scott was like, wait a second, guys. I don't think we're supposed to be. Oh wait, I don't give a shit.
Yeah. The insides of the apartment building, it looks normal. There's certainly no dirt or grime graffiti around, so it's at least reasonably well kept. Nothing that particularly jumps out to you, except for the light needs changing, flickering occasionally. Just to clarify, all of you are there at the scene right now, yes? Or did you split off some way?
I definitely want to be... I need to look up their names again. Damn it. My bad. I want to be near Peter and Richard because they are the investigative experts as far as I'm concerned, whereas I'm just some locksmith.
Yeah, fair enough. Miss Esling lived on the highest floor, one of the 2 apartments there.
God damn it!
The important question is, this is like the most important question you're going to have to ask yourself for this entire game. Elevator or stairs?
Stairs.
Stairs.
Clearly. I don't trust the elevators in these games. It's just going to use it against us.
Wait, what? You said the highest floor, but how high is that?
6
a girl's penthouse of 50 flights of goddamn stairs.
Yes, exactly. No, 6.
Saibot does. That is who does this.
That's stairs.
Yeah, 6 isn't so bad. Stairs.
Yeah, that's fine.
Alright. Certainly you're not finding any resistance on the corridors or staircase as you make your way up. Her apartment isn't very hard to find, as it is currently taped up with police line do not cross. The door closed, but there don't seem to be any cops around. That being said, if anyone has acute senses, they can give me a wits plus composure or plus blood potency roll.
All right. Wits plus composure, right?
It was plus, wasn't it plus blood potency as well?
Yeah, that's from the acute senses itself, yeah.
Yeah.
So...
Okay. Sharp-eared Peter would, however, be able to... one thing, you hear the TV running in the other apartment, but you can mostly block that out. But occasionally you heard like a thump, like something heavy falling to the ground coming from the apartment.
Hear something. Don't know what it is, but coming from there.
I'm gonna quietly make my way to the room
Okay.
with cat-like tread.
Cat-like tread.
Honor pray we steal.
Thank you.
I hate you both.
Come, friends, to plow the seas. No.
What?
What?
It's from Pirates of Penzance.
In any case, well, you make your way there. The door is still closed, and outside of the immediate door area, there's the tape. What do you do?
Get to the other side of the tape.
Is there a correct way to remove police tape? I don't really know,
There is.
but my
It's
character probably
adhesive.
would.
It's just like adhesive.
But you don't want to tear it down because then that lets people know, well...
Yeah.
You can tape it back. The Scotch tape.
Well, Richard would try to remove it, like, normally.
Carefully, all right.
Yeah.
I was just gonna move through it.
And the door. Oh wait, you're opening the door, you said? Don't want to rush ahead here.
Stealthily.
Stealthily, yes. Okay, then you can roll me a dexterity plus larceny, please.
Oh no, not larceny.
Oh yes, larceny.
Well, what'd you
God
expect?
damn it. I looked at my character's larceny, it's got 2 fucking dots in it.
You should have did it.
I've got 2 dots too.
With an emphasis on lockpicking, so I get
Well.
3 for...
Same.
Oh, shit, I shouldn't have fucking laughed.
That's the worst, when you can't eat or laugh properly without it hurting. That's the worst.
I've been
So what you're
eating
saying is
since
we have
days.
2 people who would have been better for opening this door than UA's character.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, to clarify though, this larceny... Okay, I should clarify in case. This is not a lock-picking roll right now, this is just the roll to,
Oh, okay.
Be quiet.
be quietly opening it, yes.
So why is that larceny instead of stealth? 'Cause larceny to me sounds like actively stealing.
Well, larceny is very
Stealing
specific
door?
about...
Larceny is breaking and entering.
Yeah, manual dexterity, especially. Like a sleight of hand would also be a larceny. So I figured that would fit better than stealth, which is just in general about being silent and unseen, while this is more about the dexterity part of it.
Okay, let's spin a willpower.
Right?
Didn't need it, but whatever.
Well, we're about to find out if you needed it.
Shit.
Yeah.
Shit.
Peter hears some rustling after the door is opened.
Someone's inside there.
Can I would like to look inside and see what I see.
What you see is... the apartment interior actually looks surprisingly good. The rug seems to be not very cheap, given the very complicated pattern and everything, and the fabric, as far as you can tell. There's a couch right in front of you with a small TV table in front of a fairly large flat screen TV. There is a sadly now empty aquarium to your left, straight ahead when you walk into the room, essentially. In the back, there's a kitchen area, slightly separated between, like there are 2, well, not walkways, but openings in the wall into the kitchen, and then there's also a like a kitchen table that is in the wall, so you can look from the kitchen to the TV, essentially, if you can imagine that. There's another door in the kitchen to the left, and another door to the right of the kitchen.
Alright, can my character can begin inspecting the lock to see if anything was forced open?
Yes, you can.
Alright, what do I need to roll for that?
Yeah, crafts, actually. Intelligence, wits plus crafts.
Alright, so that's gonna be 5. Can I add my area of expertise lockpicking for an extra 1?
Normally that wouldn't be possible because it's not in that skill, but there would be a merit for that, and I think it's logical right now, so I just put that up.
Oh no, I do have the merit. Area of expertise lockpicking.
It would be interdisciplinary specialty for having it in multiple skills, but don't worry about it. Act like you have it right now, so give yourself the +1.
Thank you.
Actually,
You
+2 then.
as in-
+2 then, because of area of expertise.
Right.
That's exceptional.
Holy shit.
Sure.
I know Locks. I know Locks really good.
Well, apparently, Scott is entering the zone. He too gets steadfast for perception. To quickly summarize, essentially, when you fail a roll, you can spend steadfast to count as if you had rolled a single success instead.
Oh, okay.
And you gain a beat for that when you resolve it, of course. On to the matter at hand, though. Nothing that you can see would in any way suggest that there was some sort of violent entry. Everything, well, the lock seems to be a little bit old, but it certainly hasn't been forced in any time since last maintenance anyway.
Alright, I'll report that to the rest of them. I'll walk up to. So surprisingly, no forced entry. Whoever this person was, she let them in.
Unless they came in through the window. If there is one.
I think you guys can check that out. I've checked out all the locks in this place. They all get a pass. Maybe they need some replacing.
What did you hear earlier, Peter? You
There's
still
something
here?
moving around in here. Wrestling something.
Well, what direction?
You couldn't pinpoint it exactly enough for that. But
Not sure, but it was inside here.
yeah.
Pulls out knife.
Yeah, makes sense. Steph, quick question. Are you there? Has been silent.
Oh no.
Yeah.
She muted like a couple.
Okay.
Just
Again,
making sure you weren't dead.
yes, exactly.
No, there was a fucking spider, and I'm trying to kill it.
Nice.
It was really big.
Fist big.
Holy shit.
That's good.
As a person who's not really afraid of spiders, I can't sympathize.
But you're having trouble finding a huge spider.
No,
Like, I hit
getting
it
rid of one.
with, like, my phone, and I can't locate
You
the
hit
box.
a spider with your phone?
That was the only
Yeah.
thing I had with me.
Just
You
use your
have
hand.
I don't want to touch it.
Yeah. Why would you? I agree. Why would you touch it?
I mean, I put them
It's an
back
icky picky
outside. but-
spider.
No, they gotta die.
Just smash your.
Outside, but I don't care enough about it.
How did
Give a
your
cup.
phone screen crack? Oh, I was beating spiders with it.
Exactly.
I can't see where it went though, so if I die, it's because I got bit by a brown recluse.
If it was
If
a
it's a
brown
brown
recluse,
recluse, it would be tiny.
It was like it wasn't very big. It was maybe like the size of like a nickel.
that's still a little large.
Recluses
way
are
too
smarter
big.
than that.
I didn't like
No,
it.
brown recluses would be around that size, quarter size.
Alright, sorry, I didn't mean to derail the game.
It's okay.
It's fine.
Enjoy
because you-
enjoy necrosis when it comes.
Okay. Yeah, was just checking up on you.
So a nickel-sized spider is huge.
Yeah. Dude, nickels are huge.
Anyway,
I
back
believe
from
you.
spiders here.
Now I'm
That
really
is not what I heard in the apartment.
And now my character transforms into a spider. Let's go.
Exactly. No, what was what the noise was clearly a spider monster. It attacks you. Roll for initiative.
Shit!
Anyway.
No, clearly what we're hearing is actually rats, but
That
Good job.
one though.
I actually get it's actually 3 because I have fast reflexes, but
Okay.
still. I would like to take the dramatic failure for initiative.
Unfortunately, not possible.
Well, shit.
Yeah. Anyway. Yeah, I interrupted you guys. What you doing?
Well, there are two doors, and I heard noise in here.
I'm going to see if I can hear a noise. Like, actively listen.
Wits plus composure, -3.
-3.
Yes.
Oh, wait, but I get 9 again. Hang on.
Oh, yeah, from your trained observer. That's correct.
Yeah. 7.
That's not even going to heartbeat to beat, even with the penalty. Wait, that is with a -3?
Yeah.
Damn.
-3, sorry. Take off 1 7.
Okay. That's not too bad, still. Still 2 successes.
Uh-huh.
Yes. There seems to be some, well, rustling again and shuffling coming from the door to the right of the kitchen.
Let's see. I don't have weapons. I'm a fisticuff person, aren't I? That's unfortunate. I will take out my flashlight.
Keep in mind, as long as you have a single dot of vigor, even fisticuffs hurts a lot.
Right. And I will shine the light in that direction.
Okay. Well, the door is definitely closed. That's what you can see. And what everyone can see now. Well, everyone could have seen it. Oh, that's an interesting thing to note. Vampires and eyesight. So you are, of course, adapted nocturnal predators. What this means is, in the circumstances where a normal mortal would have like slight penalties due to, darkness, you can still see clearly, or at the very least balance it out with higher hearing, but you take no penalties. And in pitch darkness, you can still see with a -2 penalty. Exception is Peter, who has acute senses. He can see clearly even in total darkness. So.
Still, I'm using it more as a pointing device than an actual aid.
Yeah, no. I figured that was the reason, but it was just a good point to bring it up. A good tutorial point, as it were.
Cool.
So, yeah. But enough interruptions. Please go on.
Richard's gonna just go open the door.
Okay. And... excuse me. Well, you are in what quite obviously appears to be some small, well, relatively small, bedroom. There's a mattress, bed, and on the other side of the room, just a few steps from you, really. Sized for 2 people, definitely. A computer with desk in one of the corners. Noteworthy, there's a awful lot of candles lining the walls, and there is a red cloth hung over, or wrapped over, essentially, the light bulb at the top. There's also a shelf with some books, and a walk-in clothes closet. Like one of these classical ones where you have like these wood, and then you can just pull it to the side essentially, and then it stacks up in that way. Yes. Oh yeah, one window. Currently closed, and with the shutters down.
Richard's gonna go stand near the window.
Okay.
Just, cover the exits.
Yeah.
Did you find the spider?
I thought I did.
Bless
Okay.
you. As soon as you enter more deeply into the room, actually, yeah, you would get the smell and both the sound. Well, the smell of blood and the sound of a heartbeat nearby.
So definitely not a vampire.
No. And unsurprisingly, the heartbeat is located in the walk-in closet.
We'll turn off the flashlight.
Hey, what was the cue that it was not a vampire?
Heartbeat.
It has a heartbeat.
Oh, okay.
Okay, that's actually another good segue for a small tutorial. So normally, when you're just walking around, you look pale, you look sickly, or at worst, you actually look like a walking corpse. But for a point of vitae, you can activate what's called the blush of life, and then you can fake life. So you get a bit rosy cheeks, you have a somewhat irregular, but at least, good enough to fake it, heartbeat, and so on. But the smell of fresh blood is probably a giveaway. It is not a vampire faking life.
Okay, so what happens when we walk out in sunlight?
That depends on your humanity and your blood potency, actually. But during a time interval determined by your blood potency, you take an amount of damage determined by your humanity. For most of you, it would be 2 points of lethal damage per 10 minutes.
Jesus.
Can I wear a hat?
I somehow felt this question was coming, but I'm just sitting here going, in tradition...
There are many ways that I could have phrased it. Standing under an umbrella, being inside any building, simply wearing a fancy hat.
Okay, so if you're entirely covered from the sun, of course you don't take any damage. If you are out in the sun, and you are almost entirely covered, you count your blood potency as being 1 point lower than it actually is for the purposes of damage ticks. Which means that a
clever and maneuver through.
It does mean
allies.
that a blood potency 1 vampire who is wrapped up in this ridiculous fashion could actually walk around without taking any damage because they effectively have blood potency 0 at that point for purposes of sunlight damage.
So we're fine on Halloween Day, dressed as a mummy.
Until it goes wrong.
Sunglasses.
But yeah, the main problem is actually going to be when you resist the day sleep, which it's almost like under normal circumstances, unless you make a willful effort to resist it, as soon as dawn goes up, you would just fall over like a corpse. Actually, resisting the day sleep would give you the lethargic condition, which is essentially like a mortal that hasn't slept in a day. And it gets worse the longer you keep it up, of course.
Okay.
So the real problem for fresh vampires isn't so much the damage as in just being, without any energy and just not getting much done.
Right. So for back to the scene, my Face of the Beast power, it needs a target, right?
Yes, correct.
So do I need to be able to see the target?
You need at least a... I mean, you're technically perceiving it. So... I would actually say you could trigger it. Yeah. Because, I mean, the thing with Face of the Beast is actually, it's almost more important that the target can see you than vice versa. As long as you can,
right.
At least intuit that they are there and you have some means of sensing them. But that they can see you is more important.
Right, so if I wanted to do Face of the Beast and Dread Presence on that target, I could do it?
Yes. Absolutely.
I would like to do that then.
One thing we want to keep in mind with Face of the Beast, though, is the reactions people might have to be having the frightened condition could be highly irrational and, depending on the situation, makes things more complicated.
Yeah.
There are some people like me who, when they get scared, their first instinct is to punch and attack.
Yeah.
Or shriek uncontrollably.
Like the normal one that you would expect from the frightened condition is that they just start to run away from you. Or if they're cornered like this, then they might just go into a fugue state and essentially collapse.
Right. Well, I wanna do that still.
Okay.
So I spend the point, and then I roll something, or do they roll?
No, there is still a die roll from you, but it's contested by the target.
Okay.
The dice pool is in the ability.
Oh, I see. So it's presence plus empathy plus nightmare.
Yes.
Fine. Where's my empathy? Okay, 7, and I will use willpower.
Oh, wow.
I really want to scare this guy. And this is just 10 again?
If he like shits or poops himself, man, I'm not gonna be in the room for that one.
I also will have to do because my acute senses will make that worse.
Yeah.
It's only 3.
Yeah, well, against 2
Doesn't matter.
dice, though, it's enough. I mean, to be fair, mathematically, you got the exact average expected value. 3 dice for 1 success. Okay, first up, when he activates his dread presence, well, everyone in the room, including the gang, would suddenly feel assaulted by a subtle sense of dread and foreboding. And you can't quite pinpoint where it's coming from, although you do feel like Richard has something to do with it. And
Grips that tighter.
Exactly. If you could still shiver, and if that was a normal reaction, some of you might shiver now. In any case, but shortly afterwards, he does something, and then you hear a horrible scream, panting like hysterics, coming from the closet.
And he's gonna throw it open.
There's a young man with curly hair, fairly dark but casual clothing, throwing himself into a corner, covering himself, screaming even more hysterically as you open the closet.
And I want to use intimidation. What are you doing here?
Stop! Yeah, sure. Am I actually going to make you roll for this? Because it's almost pointless at this point. Because, not in the way that you think, because, I mean, you use a supernatural power on the poor fellow, so it's not like he's gonna throw up much of a defense here. But I would allow you to roll just for the chance of rolling an exceptional success. So, yes, presence plus intimidation plus your nightmare, because a dread presence is up, plus 5.
Okay, and then -2 because it's a social roll with a moral.
No. Anything like any obviously hostile action doesn't apply for the humanity penalty.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it only and wow! Damn.
So earlier he got the average. This time,
That is not the average.
Good job. Proud of you.
Oh, wow.
You did.
It's a willpower well spent.
Well, the willpower was on the power, not the
Yeah.
intimidate.
Damn. Lost my train of thought here. Yes, so that was an incredible roll. Perhaps not in the way that we hoped for. And yes, both Peter and Scott would find to their displeasure that the poor fellow has lost control of his bladder. But yeah, right now the only reaction Richard is getting out of him is incoherent, hysterical screaming and trying his best to get away. Although, of course, the corner of the building of the closet is preventing that.
I'm gonna come up behind Richard. I think we might need to tone it down just a slight bit.
Somebody else deal with him before I lose my temper, and he'll walk to another room as the bad cop.
Goes ahead and puts knife back up. All right, kid.
Quentin rolls his eyes so hard that he's afraid they might fall out of his sockets.
Peter is just standing in the corner with 2 fingers on his temples.
Right. Normally, you would apply the frightened condition, but given the circumstances then that he can't flee, I'm just going to give him broken, which probably
is a better summary.
Yeah, it's a better summary of the situation. It will definitely make any sort of questioning very, very easy. Once he calmed down to a reasonable level of broken apathy.
Alrighty, boy. What are you doing here?
Hold on. Yeah. Remind me who's hungry again. It was Scott and...
That would be me!
Yeah, Scott
and also me.
And Peter, yes.
I'm hungry now, because I used the point.
Okay. Yeah. So we might as well make you familiar with frenzy rolls. Unfortunately, the worst parts of your vampiric nature have a habit of taking control a little bit when things don't go your way. Usually because of anger, fear, or hunger, as the case may be. And the showing right now has... we're going to ignore Richard for now, but at the very least... Actually, Richard will also make sense. Never mind. Scott's... Peter's and Richard's beast have somewhat stirred, that's a good way to put it, at this scene. Maybe it's a mix of anger and annoyance at the mortal's reaction. Obviously the hunger is definitely playing a role in it as well. And maybe just some of you have a bit of a taste for adrenaline-enriched blood. Certainly not going to be any shortage of that. So yes, a frenzy roll.
Monster.
Yeah, you monster. So we will start with Richard. So to resist frenzy is a resolve plus composure roll with various modifiers. Right now for you, since you're hungry, it would be so you're at 4 exactly, right?
Yeah, after spending the 1 point, now I'm at 4.
Yeah. So, resolve plus composure with a -2. One thing to point out, willpower works somewhat differently on frenzy. You don't get a +3, and then you just roll. Instead, when you spend willpower to resist frenzy, every point of willpower you spend buys you 1 turn of control. You don't have to roll, you just barely, but you keep yourself in check. And then, once you stop buying yourself turns of control, then you get a bonus equal to the total number of willpower points you spent. So as far as the sheer bonus goes, it's a lot less efficient than normal, but sometimes getting those turns of control is more important. Of course, sometimes...
And assumedly, each turn he would get more calm, and this would be less of a problem?
Yes, if whatever triggered the frenzy, or the potential frenzy, and you use your turns of control to get it under control or solve it without, totally flying off the handle, then you would get bonuses at the end as well, because it will eliminate penalties, as the case may be. Like, if someone pisses you off and then you have to resist an anger frenzy, and you spend willpower to keep control, but then you use that control to deck the motherfucker, then your beast is still satisfied, and you might get a bonus to, do something extremely terrible at the end.
Right.
Does any sort of frenzy control grant beats or interact with beats?
Indirectly, yes. Okay, falling to frenzy is an immediate beat. Just falling to frenzy and you get a beat. And if you resist frenzy, you also get the tempted condition, which is going to make future frenzy resistance harder. And the way you resolve tempted is either by finally falling to frenzy, or having a meaningful interaction with a mortal, usually your touchstone. And in that way you can get beats as well by resolving the tempted condition one way or the other.
Can you choose to fall to frenzy for the immediate beat?
Absolutely.
This game is very, very bad.
You will have to, of course, live with the consequences, but you totally can.
I'm going to spend a willpower to resist this turn.
Oh, one more thing, since one more frenzy thing. There's also, this may be going too much into it for what is only like a few sessions, but since I'm on the topic already anyway, there's also something that's called riding the wave, which is essentially you kind of frenzy, but you try to stay in control as much as you can. So you get all the benefits of frenzy, like bonuses to your physical rolls and so on, and strong resistance to mental domination and so on, but you're in some semblance of control. To do that, you need to spend a willpower point for the control roll, for the turn of control, and you still roll resolve plus composure, but you need to accumulate a total number of successes of 5 instead of just a single one. And if you get the 5, then you enter a essentially controlled frenzy. So you get all the benefits, but you have some semblance of control over what you're doing.
Okay, well, I don't trust my roll right now, so I'm just going to do the willpower to stave it off this turn.
Okay, which brings us to Peter.
All right. So what do I roll again?
If you're just going to do it straight, then resolve plus composure -2 for you. You can, of course, spend willpower like Richard to keep it at bay for a bit.
I'm going to do that.
You are doing it, or you ain't doing it?
Yes.
Okay.
I'm going to spend one more power.
Okay. And on to Scott. Same different for you. Woo! All right. You needed every die you had left, though. Damn, on that 9.
Yep.
Okay. Scott takes the equivalent. Well, he does take a deep breath. I guess his humanity, for one thing, his humanity is still high enough that he might have affectations like that. He does, however, get the tempted -1 condition for future frenzy resistance that might be necessary.
Where do I put that kind of notes?
Second page.
Oh, second page.
Bottom left.
Condition, okay. So I had tempted for one, and then the other one was for that success earlier.
Yeah, steadfast, and then in brackets perception. Okay. Peter and Richard, meanwhile, only keep themselves barely in check. What are you doing with these one turn of control, which is roughly 3 seconds? That is for bio.
Stepping away from the room to get myself away from the source.
Yeah, makes sense. Same for Richard, or?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Trying to get away from the seduction. I would give you an extra +10 in addition to what your willpower point would give you. So right now you're at a +0, effectively. Unless you want to get further away before something tragic happens.
Quote unquote.
Yeah, relatively. So, Richard, what about you?
For what I'm doing?
Whether you spend another willpower point for another turn of control or a roll now. You did get the +1 for the willpower point that you spent before, and another +1 for getting out of immediate temptation.
So it's +0 right now?
Correct.
I'll take a risk and try rolling.
Alright.
Okay.
Okay, got it.
I will also take the risk.
Alright.
So it's composure plus resolve.
Correct.
10 again.
Will this entirely fly off the handles here?
Yes.
No, not this time. But yes, both Richard and Peter also get tempted -1. Which might matter for future rolls.
Is there something I can do from the outside to help somebody else maintain their control?
Well, it depends on the trigger for one thing, but excuse me. You could do some social roles to give like minor penalties to it. Nothing big, but that's about it. That being said, there are some powers and merits associated with that.
Okay.
So it's not, yeah. But the best way to actually talk someone down from frenzy is being their touchstone. Not really an option right now, but yeah, just as a side note. Okay, so Richard and Peter are currently outside catching their breath, quote unquote. What about Jing and Helen inside? Oh, and Quentin for that matter, sorry. Too many characters, clearly. That's silence, though. Is Steph even here?
Yeah.
He was just here. Yeah.
Okay.
Quentin is going. So Scott is with the dude. So Quentin is going to search the rest of the apartment.
Fair enough.
Alright. That's fair.
That is absolutely fair.
And what happened with the guy?
He's
Right now-
still hysterical.
Yeah, he's gotta
And-
calm down.
Yeah.
Right now, Scott's just sitting in the closet. Right now,
Could I
Scott's
attempt
just
calming him down?
Probably.
Yes. In a moment. Quickly going to do Quentin's roll first. So a wits plus investigate with. No, shouldn't be particularly difficult. Yeah, so +0.
5. This is not trained observer because it's investigate, not resolve. or
No,
composure.
it's still a perception roll though.
Very good.
Not that it
Oh,
would have
well.
made a difference, yeah? Well, you are going to be busy for a bit there, but do remind me to tell you what you found later.
Okay.
What about Jing? Is it Jing or Jin? I forgot.
Yeah, Jing.
Jing. And calming him down. What do you try to do?
Well, I mean, like, what attributes would just calming him down use? Or
Okay.
just like trying to talk, or
Okay.
with standard.
As a general, okay, this is a general thing. I would recommend that you try to always express what you're doing in narrative, in character terms. Don't worry too much about the dice pools before rolling.
Okay, I see.
If you think that the dice pools I pick are entirely inappropriate and so on, then we can have a talk about that after session. That's no problem. But otherwise, it's always best to frame it in narrative terms. That being said,
Emphatic, harmless, and to ask, huh?
That being said, to answer your general question, talking to someone, using your voice to sway someone, influence them, is usually a manipulation. Like presence is, I have, like for instance, like an officer might have high presence. They say something and people do it. Or a rock star has high presence. And manipulation is someone who's good with words, who, knows to get under people's skin by just talking at them a long time.
They know
It's
the
the
right
difference-
words to push the right buttons.
Yeah,
The difference between an air of command and a silver tongue.
exactly.
Okay. My character tries to convince that we're harmless, and we intend to, I just say whatever to calm him down. Doesn't matter what.
Okay. Yeah, if it's just coming down, then manipulation plus empathy, please. That's actually his first dice roll of the night.
I'm proud of him.
Yeah. Even you get to roll dice occasionally. There's a macro, you don't need to type it.
Oh, really? Shit.
Oh, yes.
What is the macro again? I don't remember.
Okay, so to the right of the jukebox, at the top right of the Roll20, there's this what looks kind of like an icon with bullet point list, or bullet point list as an icon. If you click on that, you have a collection of all the dice macros I ever made for this. What you want right now is the 10 again macro. So just click on tick the box in bar, and then it should appear at your bottom left as well in the screen.
You said 10 again?
10 again, yeah. Which means you roll a d10, or the number of d10s, and every 10 explodes, gets rolled again.
Okay. And then, what was it?
Manipulation plus
bar
empathy.
No, I have it in bar and then...
Oh, yeah, then you click on the macro that you can see in the bottom left.
Okay.
And then it will ask...
Oh, shoot. Whoopsies. Set it to 9.
Yeah.
How do I set it to 9?
There should be a question coming up then that says a number of dice. You put a 9. Boom.
No, it doesn't do that.
Because you did 1d10 and not the one that says 10 again.
Yeah.
Like it says in words, the number 10, a dash, and then again.
Yeah, that's how it's named. It's literally 10.
Okay.
as a number,
Okay, I see.
Dash again.
Okay.
I like how he rolled the 7 on both, though.
Well, when in quantum rolling.
Yeah, no kidding.
Wait, I'm clicking and nothing's happening.
There should be a dialogue box that comes up in the middle that says how many dice.
Yeah, no, that's not happening. Let me refresh.
Okay.
Are you...
Okay. Okay, just tell me how many dice. I'm just gonna go ahead and roll for you.
9.
9, right. You got 2 successes. Throwing everything you have at him to calm him down, to assure him that the situation is under control, that whatever horrific thing you just saw is gone, and nothing to worry about, and clearly assuring him in your best I'm a doctor, trust me voice that everything is under control, fine, shouldn't be worried. And after doing this for about a minute, you get through him enough that he's still definitely out of it, sweaty all over, heavy, irregular breathing, but at least he's not screaming anymore. What now?
Let's see. Well, is it still my turn?
I mean,
There's no turn.
Yeah, when it's
The
combat.
seat is yours.
Yeah. There's no combat
wasn't
right now,
like-
so there are no turns. But if you have something, I'm sure that if the other player characters have something, they would just throw it in as soon as the.
Right now, Scott's just next to you, accepting that you're doing a better job of what he wanted to do because, well, you're more sociable, and that's okay with him.
That being
He's a
said, though,
doctor.
you can always try to help him with teamwork actions as long as you have.
Oh, right.
No,
which,
we have like 2 people like suffering from hunger right now, right? Yeah.
3.
Yes,
But
3 actually.
and then one of them is literally in the room with him, but
Right. Well, I mean, for now they have all gotten their beasts in check. So for now, but
Okay,
all
who's
of
the
them
best
are
interrogator?
noticeably on the edge. Sorry, what?
Probably you.
So who's the best interrogator?
Either you or the detective.
Yeah, that would make the most sense.
Okay.
Yeah, the one that scared him shitless.
I gave as a bonus for that. So don't give me shit.
yep.
He is going to
Alright,
be
so-
absolutely easy to interrogate as soon as he calms down enough, which you made a major strides
Yeah.
towards.
All right, so I ask him what he's doing here.
I saw when the cops were leaving, and I planned to, I occasionally go to spots, and you just need to make a buck. I mean, they're dead. It's not like they're gonna miss
you're a
anything.
thief.
I mean, it's just a bit of money. They don't need it, right? The police don't need it.
How long have you been hiding in here?
It just hit when I heard you guys come in. I didn't expect anyone. I don't want any trouble. I can just go and everything's fine.
Disgusting.
He more or less
relevant-
blends that out.
What would be relevant questions to our goal?
Could I use my
Absolutely.
uncanny perception again?
If you mean, oh, yeah, absolutely.
Hey, Saibot.
Mhm.
This guy's a thief,
Yes.
and he has the broken condition. Did I fulfill my aspiration?
I just roll a 10 again to figure out how many.
Sorry, just a moment, Steph. I'm absolutely
sorry.
sorry. I didn't even realize that. Okay, yes.
What is your aspiration?
Break some crook.
Good.
Originally, it was meant a little bit more literal than that, but yes, actually a sense of when he hears that. I mean, he's still trying to calm down, but he obviously hears the conversation. A sense of satisfaction goes over Richard. He recovers a willpower point, and you gain a beat.
Nice.
Nice.
Richard's just sort of laughing.
But yeah. Yeah, sorry, Steph. Please go ahead.
Okay, I want to use my uncanny perception on him.
Yeah, fair enough. Right, 2 questions.
Okay. Are they being controlled by someone else?
When looking at him, you see that almost like marionette strings attached to his arms and legs. However, they don't actually lead anywhere, not even into a ominous sky. They in fact look like they're cut.
What are one of his psychological vulnerabilities?
I would say fear at this point.
Yeah.
Clearly, his psychological vulnerability is Richard at this point.
Ask another question.
Is this person a supernatural creature?
No.
No.
The question was absolutely. I mean, theoretically, he could be something like a mage. He would still have a pulse and so on, but probably a mage would have reacted with a little bit more backbone.
Get the pen.
Blast the shit out of us. If the mage was Izzy, he would have pulled out a sword.
That's true. No, but
Izzy would never resort to looting dead people's
not at all. No,
If they had a
Steph.
sword in their apartment.
Only if he killed them.
Right.
Then he would loot.
No, but Steph, the question was totally fine. That was just joking. If you want to stay with that question, I can definitely answer it.
Yeah.
Okay. How best to... Yeah. Yeah. Simple as that. When you focus on this particular aspect, you hear echoing in your mind a sort of tick, tick, tick noise, followed by some rapping or shuffling of paper, and then a long sniff sound echoing in your mind.
Okay.
I hope that was obvious enough what I was
It's
going
the
with.
drugs.
So yeah, that was your 2 questions then.
Yep.
Yeah. Anything Jing is doing?
Well, yeah. So like,
And he was dead.
And he was there.
no. It's like, what would be relevant questions? Because, okay,
I mean, right now he's on a platter for you. He's open. He's ready to receive your questions.
What a nice way of putting that.
Yes,
Yeah,
exactly.
especially when there's 3 people who are hungry.
Yeah. Maybe I choose my metaphors usually for effect.
Maybe he's trying to imply as best he can that this is free food.
I mean, free is relative here, of course, if you don't mind the breaking point. Although it depends on how much you take, of course.
No, just the thing is, I don't get the implications enough to know like what would be relevant questions. Like he's just some like
Okay, yeah.
he's just some
Well,
looter,
then
right?
that's it. Yeah, then there is no implications. He's a looter and he's here.
Alrighty. So you're here stealing stuff, and trust me when I say I understand that. Are you doing this for anyone in particular? Did somebody send you here?
No. I just need some money, that's all. And, you know, dead people
Well,
don't
why
need it.
do
I
you
have
need
nothing to do.
money
I
so
don't even know the
badly?
girl.
How do you know
How
it
do
was
you know
her?
there was a girl?
I mean, how everything looks here. Actually, don't even bother rolling. There is definitely, yeah, that doesn't quite check out.
Does what's her name?
It's in the
Does
chat.
Helen communicate her aspects to everyone?
I don't think she has.
Okay.
If she did, she would have to do it in front of him, which, you know, could be curious, at the very least.
Okay. Well, she can whisper it.
Whisper, whisper.
Whisper, whisper, whisper.
Right.
Rabble, rabble, rabble.
All right, so since what he said doesn't obviously check out, and Helen's not saying anything.
So she just
whispered.
whispered.
Did she actually do that?
Yeah, she just told you.
Okay.
Okay.
We're bad at this game.
No, I'm bad.
I got it.
Dominate is not long term, right? There are no long term repercussions to using dominate on someone.
Okay, do you want a short or long answer to that question? Because that's a loaded
Short.
question, really. No. There is no long-term effect.
So I couldn't like convince him to not do drugs anymore.
Oh, no, you can totally do that. The thing, okay, I misunderstood what you were saying. Commands that you give end at sunrise at the latest. But Dominate is pretty, well, let's say insidious. So it can still stick, especially when you give like orders like that. Also, you can just use Mesmerize to manipulate his memory into making him think that he kicked the habit, and that will stick. Whether it will actually stick in him going full cold turkey is a different question, but he will think that he has kicked the habit at least once.
Yeah, so unless anyone wants to further interrogate him, I will do that.
I mean, there's still definitely some interrogating to be done here. So, I'm just gonna tell you right now, kid, your story of not knowing that this was... Your story that of just assuming just on entering that this was a female's abode, that's not gonna fly with me. It's really not gonna fly.
Actually, yeah, dominate, don't lie.
I mean, you can go ahead and do that, but it's almost... No, the thing is, though, that's the tricky part. When you
But yeah,
mesmerize
isn't
someone,
he-
they are actually mesmerized. Like, you can just go straight ahead and make them give you all the answers, absolutely. But commanding them to not lie is not, helpful in itself. And then when they're
Okay.
mesmerized, then, they're essentially just primed for you. It's like
No,
sleepwalking
but
kind
like,
of at that point.
okay, so the status of being broken doesn't necessarily mean he would lie.
Well, broken will definitely be a huge penalty to his ability to resist your dominate, if that's what you're asking.
I mean, just the interrogation in general, like with the propensity of lying. Like, would that be like? I'm just thinking of necessary precautions considering the situation.
Yeah, I don't think it's necessary. Don't worry.
Okay.
Scott can roll me strength plus intimidation.
Strength plus intimidation.
Let's see how he does on his chance die. Oh wait,
I have intimidation.
No. Sorry,
him.
I was talking about you. But I can see the confusion.
I'll go ahead and spend a willpower here. Never mind. I will not do such a thing.
I mean, chance die is a chance die. Wasn't much to be
Holy
expected
shit.
there.
Maybe you should have used that willpower.
Maybe yes.
talking
This
about
time
using
I'm fine with you putting
Wait,
it retroactively since you actually announced it at the outset.
All right. Nope.
Wow.
Fuck you.
Whoa.
You couldn't turn it into dramatic failure for a beat, although I'm not entirely sure
Please.
what I would even do for a dramatic failure here right now.
Use your imagination.
I have an idea of what to do for a dramatic failure.
I mean, you have an idea. You can go ahead.
Screaming begins again.
Yeah. That's actually a good one. It's not so much that the dramatic failure is for the interrogatee, but for the interrogator, who gets a little bit too into it with very little effect.
Listen, I don't like liars. Liars make me mad!
Yes.
Dramatic failure.
Yeah, so first up you gain a beat for the dramatic failure. And yes, this brings your beast to the forefront a little bit more again. You gain the bestial condition, which essentially means a -2 penalty to resist frenzy or any sort of fight or flight responses. Essentially you, well, act more animalistic. And a
I'm okay
-2
with
to
this.
defense because you are too vicious right now. To get rid of it, you need to cause damage in someone's last 3 health boxes. Or let a day pass, then it is shed automatically, but you don't get a beat for it then.
Where's the defense? So, is there any way I can put that as a temporary for my defense, or just like?
You might be able to just put in a -2 at the end of your defense there.
Yep, that works.
Yeah. That's probably the best way, because this way you don't accidentally, change it now and then never forget to reset your defense. Actually, time is running, in fact, and as nice as this scene is going, I think, Steph is running out of time and we're running the clock in general. So what we're quickly going to do is... okay, has Scott any dots in... Actually... okay, just as a general thing, Kat, what kind of avenue of questioning would you try to be tackling here?
That is the question. He just said that he's not relevant to anything. Oh, wait. Yeah,
okay,
wait,
are you just trying to
so-
play the good cop to Scott's and Richard's bad cop?
Oh, yeah, that would be a good
Well,
opportunity, yeah.
Well, he might be relevant. I mean, he didn't he knew
Yeah,
it was a
I
girl.
forgot,
Like,
yeah,
he knew it was a girl.
Nezarmai.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So what we're quickly going to do is Scott is going to do a strength plus intimidation, but with the nightmare bonus from Richard, so a +2.
Nice.
So go ahead and
Will
roll
I
that.
also get another bonus from the bestial going on right now?
It's actually an almost entirely negative condition. That being said, in this particular instance, I think that actually works out in your favor. So I would give you an extra +10. Sorry, +10, +1 for that.
What the?
Yeah, +10 would be a little bit extreme. No, +1. All right.
You didn't even have more than a +6, I thought.
Yeah. So Scott is going bad cop on him more, while Jing is playing the good cop, and Jing can roll me a manipulation plus empathy with a +2. Thanks to the bad copping. And he's opposing it with what is right now a chance die, because, well, who would have guessed?
Could still have been a dramatic failure.
Well, that's an exceptional success. Okay, for the exceptional success, first up, Jing feels essentially has almost an emotional or a heart wave. He feels relatively in tune with people today, surprisingly. And gains the inspired condition relating to mortals. What this means is you can, before making a roll in the future that involves social interaction with a mortal, you can spend your inspired, and then you get an exceptional success on 3 successes instead of the normal 5. And also you gain a willpower point.
It only lasts till the end of the day, right?
No, actually, you will keep it until you spend it, or so much time passes that it's over essentially.
Okay,
but at that
yes.
point, you still get the beat, even if you don't get the other benefit. And aside from that, we're just going to call it for now. But we're going to take a note that you guys can ask him up to 5 questions, and he will answer them truthfully. I'm just going to put it into chat, so you have essentially a week to think about it, but you can also put the questions into the chat so we can talk about them.
What caps it off at 5, though?
Your 5 successes.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
Do I get to find out what I found?
Oh, yes.
Or is that a next week thing?
No, I think you have enough time. The room isn't particularly big, so we get that out of the way real quick. Yes, so there was 1 success, right?
I think so. What is my last roll? Yeah, 1 success.
Okay. Well, first thing you find, computer is password protected. Your initial guesses don't break anything up, but maybe later you can tackle that again once now you know and can figure out a way to maybe get past that. Quickly going through her clothes, you notice that she has a rather large assortment of different attire. A lot of it, it jumps out for you compared to the interior of this house. A lot of it would be, classified as lingerie, very, very...
negligee?
Yeah, that sort of thing.
Lady of the Night stuff.
Yes, exactly.
She's a whore.
Almost comically, if the situation wasn't so serious, she actually has like a this comically overdone Hello Nurse kind of uniform there as well inside. Aside from just general casual clothing. Yes.
Mrs. Evans. I need it.
And
This is all
yes.
very dirty and gross, and I'm just like, eh.
Exactly. Following up on that, you also managed to find some supplies in her wardrobe that, as you already correctly guessed, perhaps, would also allude to that particular line of, to that particular profession.
Ew.
Why don't you just say it? Come on.
No, no. You see, it's cooler. It's more interesting when I let your fantasy play and then just what you figure is in there.
This is correct.
Yes, exactly. Now, clearly, I need to keep this PG-13 because YouTube. Ha, nah.
I already said the word shit, and I'm pretty sure someone dropped an F-bomb.
Yeah.
And I said, and there was like,
I'm kidding.
the morgue.
I'm kidding.
Also, I'm a horrible person in general.
Yeah, that's true. Anyway, perhaps the most interesting.
Automatically make it PG-13.
Perhaps the most interesting thing is you find what appears to be a diary of sorts with names, telephone numbers, dates, and quick notes. Usually the notes pertain to meeting places or particular preferences, I would say.
Bingo!
Clientele book.
Pocket this.
And that's about all the... some various kinds of books, mostly relatively shallow bestsellers, nothing particularly challenging.
I'm calling it the Book of Dirty Secrets.
Yes. Well, and of course, what do you expect? Like pencils, other notebooks that don't seem particularly interesting.
No,
What you would
clearly
expect in a
I'm not.
bedroom.
I figured out the mystery. It was Slanish the whole time.
Exactly. Anyway, and that is it for today. But everyone gets actually a total of 2 beats. So each one of you gains 2 more beats.
Even CAD?
In addition to whatever we already got?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
That is 1 for session and 1 for general progress on the investigation.
Shit. Shouldn't have-
Jeez, the cops did a bad job, huh?
Yeah.
Maybe that's
Maybe
part
We
of
never.
it.
reason for
Well, the
that.
cops is what led to this citywide issue in the first place. So yeah.
Supposedly.
Supposedly.
Wait,
Supposedly.
Allegedly.
Yue, what were you saying earlier?
But what?
I don't know, you just mentioned my name.
Yeah.
Because you were
CAD.
missing for like half the session, so I was wondering if you'd get the beat as well. Anyway, I'm gonna stop
I
the
was
recording
being
here.
a dick.
Of course.